School Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host. The Yamin of Revolution was Keefe D FRAMED. But before we get into that, y'all be sure to wipe y'all feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe. Support the platform, y'all. Revolutionary salute. Roll up that good dinner, man. Exactly what we finna do and get into this good information on the Tupac murder. Let's get right into it. Salute,
TV, where we expose the exposers. Today, we are talking a little bit about Keefe D and the completely orchestrated setup that he is caught in right now. In this country, seeing a black man get railroaded and incarcerated for a crime he had absolutely nothing to do with is about as American as apple pie.
Which was the importance of Andre Sparks, because they had Stone name, my name, Sparks name, and so Sparks caught a murder and went to jail first. He was the first one.
This guy we just talked to.
Yeah, Andre Sparks. That's what he did 28 years for. And some shit he didn't even do.
It happens so often that it barely even registers as a big deal to the public anymore when we see it happen. Just look at the Orlando Anderson situation. The official story they try to feed everyone is that he was killed right at the car wash. But the Compton police actually let us know that he didn't die at the car wash at all.
When they say the shooting happened there at the car wash hamburger stand off Alondra and Willowbrook, that area. But he was found on the 1 street just over. Yeah. And the first person on the scene, Andy, was Reggie Wright. Imagine that. First person, man. And he was shocked when he saw myself and Pilcher there at first. The first unit to show up, undercover narcotics officers.
Wow.
You know?
I did not know.
Yeah, and he was dead. They shot him up good. That's why I say there's conspiracy there where possibly he followed and he called, okay, he's over here. Let's do him in. Let's get it done.
Wow.
All right? So then there's another write-up that Ray Richardson got a dying declaration from Orlando Anderson. And
what he said was,
funny.
Tupac.
Something like that. Yeah. Okay.
So while Reggie Jr. was busy putting all of Knight's property in his name, news came that Mr. Knight may be appealing his case. The problem was that Orlando Anderson may not be a friendly witness this time. Knight was granted an appeal in April of 1998. But by then, Orlando Anderson had done several interviews on television denying charges against him. And 2 months before that, in February of 1998, Anderson actually did a deposition on the accusations. It looked like Anderson was not going to be as cooperative as he had been.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac? No. Do you know anyone who owns a white Cadillac? No.
So Knight appeals, and that was April of 1998. And Death Row realizes Anderson may not play ball. Guess what happens the very next month?
In that incident, 3 people lost their lives. Orlando gets found around the corner, and surprise, surprise. Who is the very first person on the scene? Reggie Wright Sr. But listen to how the official story goes. According to them, Orlando pulled up to the spot with Michael Doro, Little Owl from Southside. They get there, get into an altercation with the 2 Stones, and apparently, all 3 of them end up shot. The 2 brothers are shot, and Orlando is shot. But here is the wildest part of the whole thing. Currently, right now, as we're speaking, at this very second, Little Owl is incarcerated for the murder of all 3 of them.
Okay, do you know the situation around Orlando's actual murder?
Yes, we handled that case along with Detective Aguirre.
What happened?
We were basically, where he got killed was probably 6 blocks from the police station in Compton. It was right next to Compton High. There's this car wash right there. We were in the back lot of our station, and we just heard a barrage of probably 30 shots go off, and right just south of us. So we're all jumping out of our car heading that way anyway. What had happened was Orlando's grandmother had passed away the night before. And apparently he had been drinking all night with one of his best friends, Michael DeRoe. And they went over to a place called Mom's Burgers across the street from the car wash to get something to eat. Well, he sees a guy that owes, from another gang in Compton, a Crip set in Compton, that owes his uncle and his friend DeAndre, I forgot if it was $5,000, $10,000, somewhere in there, about $5,000, over some cocaine.
Yeah.
So he decides, because they've been drinking and everything else, they got a gun in the car, they're going to go over and jam him up about the money he owes. Well, this guy's from another gang in Compton called Corner Pocket. And some of the other Corner Pocket gang members were there, and they started coming up, like, hey, what's this all about? Why are you jamming them up? And next thing you know, Orlando pulls out a gun and shoots 2 of the Corner Pocket persons that are there, or shoots one of them right away. And then another Corner Pocket guy starts shooting back at Orlando and pretty much hits him dead center. I mean, he wasn't alive much longer after that. His partner that was in the car with Orlando took the gun and then started shooting back and ended up shooting another Corner Pocket guy that shot Orlando. They went around the corner, crashed the car, and we were pulling up there when Orlando was being pulled out of the car. The other guy took off running, dumping the gun. And we're waiting for paramedics, and one of our partners, Ray Richardson, was over there talking to Orlando, and he was basically taking his last breaths at that time. And 2 of the persons at the gas station that they were shooting at also died that day. So it was a triple murder, and it was all dope related.
Had nothing to do with the Tupac.
Nothing to do with Tupac.
Because when you heard of Orlando getting killed a year later, the first thing you thought was, oh, this is a retaliation.
Oh, I've seen things on the internet and everything else about people that were there and what it was. I mean, we were there. We handled it.
Right.
You know, we went to court on it. We convicted the survivor for all 3 murders.
If you go back to Suge Knight's trial, we all know what happened. It is quite literally on videotape. Even though Suge ran over Terry Carter, I think most logical people can agree that was never his intent that day. The camera footage clearly shows he is being attacked. He is in fear for his life. He takes off running and accidentally hits Terry Carter. But when Suge was in court, I watched the way those judges treated him. They weren't listening. They wouldn't even let him see his lawyers. I watched all the injustices piling up just to railroad him into that sentence. They even went after his fiancée and threw her in jail for 3 years. First, they squeezed her with a conspiracy charge and put her on probation just for leaking that TMZ video of Suge and Terry Carter. Then, they set the trap. They hit her with a probation violation and locked her up for 3 whole years, just because she helped him arrange some phone calls with a documentary crew. They used the fine print to take 3 years of her life. And I told myself right then, if they can do that to him, they can absolutely do that to me. The reason it's so easy for the system to do this to us is because not too many people say anything. And when nobody speaks up, they just keep running the same plays over and over again. This YouTube channel might not be a massive network, but it is my way of trying to help somebody that needs it. When I look at the situation with Keefe D, I have to put myself in his shoes. If I was sitting in a cell, unable to fight for myself, watching the system do me dirty, I would pray that somebody out there was saying something for me. This is so much deeper than Keefe D. If they can do this to Suge, a man who had money, status, and brushed shoulders with the elite, they will not hesitate to do it to you. Period. Look at what just happened recently overseas in Israel. Some IDF soldiers were caught on camera committing heinous acts against a hostage.
Israel is facing a political storm over a leaked video from Sdit Iman, one of its most notorious detention sites. The video appears to show soldiers raping a Palestinian detainee inside the facility. The CCTV video from July 2024 was aired on Israeli television, causing public outrage and eventually led to criminal charges against 5 soldiers.
They were brought to trial and arrested. But what did the people out there do? They went and started banging on the jailhouse door.
However, far-right ministers in the Netanyahu administration and many Israeli citizens defended the soldiers' actions and even protested against taking any legal action against them. Now, Israeli authorities have opened a criminal investigation, but not into the alleged rape itself, but into the leak. On October 31st, Major General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi, Israel's top military lawyer, resigned, admitting she was involved in leaking the footage to expose misconduct. 2 days later, Tomer Yerushalmi was declared missing, prompting a large search north of Tel Aviv. She was later found alive and taken into custody, along with the former chief military prosecutor, as part of the inquiry into the leak. Top Israeli officials have defended the crackdown. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the leak, quote, created a blood libel against Israeli soldiers. Far-right ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich accused the whistleblowers of damaging Israel's image abroad. Meanwhile, on November 3rd, the accused soldiers appeared masked outside a Jerusalem court saying, quote, instead of appreciation, we received accusations. They promised they would attain justice and will win because there is only one truth. Rights groups say Sdit Iman has a long record of alleged torture, starvation, and sexual violence against Palestinian detainees. A petition to close the facility remains pending before Israel's High Court.
That is how serious it was to them. They moved together on one accord. We need that exact same kind of unity, but we need to use it to stand up for things that are right. Because one day it might be you, who they try to put in that trick bag. So with all that being said, let's take a look at Keefe D and the Tupac murder case. The murder that he is literally sitting on trial for as we speak. And of course the murder that DJ Vlad proudly takes the credit for solving.
All right, here we go. Greg Kading, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Hello.
It's been some years.
Yes, it has.
A lot has happened. And since the last time you were here, Keefe D has been arrested for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, I've done a bunch of interviews during that time, and I've said I've essentially solved the Tupac case, which you had a little bit of an issue with.
You know, I have to say the Keefe D interview. I mean, you can't just not mention that because I feel that single-handedly answered everyone's questions about how, you know, your homie Tupac passed away. Mm-hmm. I think after watching that, no one could really run with anything but that. Only first-hand account.
Vlad really tried to say there is only one first-hand account, acting as if Marion Knight wasn't physically sitting right there. Marion has given us his account multiple times, and he has consistently let us know that Orlando Anderson did not pull the trigger. So why is Vlad trying to ignore the man who was actually in the car?
But you already know.
I mean, people will run with something else, but
you already know.
At the end of the day,
people out there that's like, nah.
Yeah, right. You know,
I know who did it.
Right. And
classic example, we ended up getting a lot of press about how Malcolm Greenidge said he could identify the shooter. We finally tracked him down to set up a re-interview. And he says, I'm not going to look at any photos because I can't identify him. Yeah, we got beat up in the LA Times over that. You know? And I'm thinking, okay, put up or shut up, Ace. And, well, but again, Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview.
Right. And the important part is that his story also perfectly matches up with everyone else who was there.
Yeah, I mean, interview. You just got
including you.
You just got to have
Chris Carroll, you know, and so forth. So I think that ultimately, you know, I feel like kind of solved, you know, even though people like you already knew, for the public, I feel it ultimately solved that unsolved case.
DJ Vlad, a major commentator in the hip-hop industry for years, admitted that police in Las Vegas asked him to help their investigation after he interviewed Keefe D for his own show. Well, DJ Vlad joins me now. DJ Vlad, thank you very much indeed for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I know you've studied this case for so long, and these interviews that you did with Keefe D, they've turned out to be extremely significant in this investigation, leading, in fact, to him being arrested and indicted. When you heard that news, how did you feel?
Well, I mean, the goal wasn't really to get anyone arrested. It was really just to get the truth of the matter. The story about Orlando Anderson killing Tupac, I've known since around 2007. So this was essentially the worst kept secret in LA. Everyone knew about it, but there were no arrests. There was no convictions. There was no anything. There was no actual proofs. There was a lot of conspiracy theories around it. So around 2008, when I first heard the Keefe confession tapes that Greg Kading got,
So, Vlad just let it be known that this whole thing didn't start with Keefe D randomly deciding to go out and write a book, or Keefe D just doing interviews for the fun of it. Vlad said he heard the actual confession tape that Greg Kading had.
Well, the last thing that Reggie Wright wanted you to touch on, and I guess we've talked about this on the show before, Keefe D's confession.
We get so much of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've talked about it many times. Well, one question I do have about Keefe D confession is, why did it get leaked? Did you leak it? And that information being out there puts Keefe D in a very dangerous situation, something that he didn't even know he was being recorded at all the entire time. So how did it become public, this confession?
So when we sat down with Keefe D, myself, the FBI, Keefe D's lawyer, we sat down under what's known as a proffer agreement, and he divulged all of the details about what took place in Las Vegas the night Tupac was shot. At that point in time, we're just going through the investigative, kind of investigative process until I retired, and I came to the realization that these crimes, the public is never going to know what we did in this investigation and the information that we attained. And so I took it upon myself to say, listen, and I went and met with Keefe D before I did it, by the way. He knew that I was releasing the information. I went to his house. We sat in my truck, and I said, here's the deal. You're never going to probably get prosecuted on this, but I'm going to expose what you did. Wow. And I said, I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm writing a book, and I'm going to tell the story. And listen, you got a huge break on the dope case that we built against you, which was 25 to life. You're walking away on a murder. So if the punishment for you is that the public knows the truth about what you did, well, then that's just the fucking way it's going to be.
I thought it was a smart move on his part, because he knew that no one was going to go to jail, no one's going to prison, no one's getting indicted, and I get to go home. Exactly. But still, I'm talking about the way the public will perceive him.
Right.
One, you told. And two, now we know for sure you killed my favorite rapper in the world.
Well, hate him for that. Hate me for that. But
when you and I speak one little negative thing about Pac, they go in on us.
They do.
Now imagine how they're feeling about Keefe D.
Exactly,
you know?
Exactly.
So you kind of put him out there on those two things, which
I did.
Which could actually get him killed if he's not careful.
Yeah, and I'm not sorry I did it. You know, he's who he is. I told him what I was going to do. His response was, oh, fuck it then. I'm a gangster. I'll handle that shit. That's exactly what he told me. And said, okay, well, that's your decision. That's your life. That's you. Go do you. I'm telling the world what the fuck happened because this story is more important than you. In fact, I think this story is more important than your life. I think this story is more important than your life. I think this story is more important than your life.
And this right here is exactly how Keefe D got railroaded into this entire situation. Think about the timeline. He goes in, gives them the proffer, and they promise him he has immunity. After all that is done, he goes back to minding his business. Then, out of nowhere, Greg Kading calls him up and says, "Hey man, You might want to watch out, because I'm getting ready to put out that tape. I'm writing my own book and telling the world everything you did. So Keefe D is sitting there like, wow, you're about to put all my business out in the streets, and there is absolutely nothing I can do to stop you. I need you guys to really understand this dynamic, because everybody loves to point the finger and say, Keefe D talked too much. No, Keefe got railroaded. He only started speaking on this publicly because he firmly believed he was protected by that immunity. And the very same cop he confided in told him he was about to publish a book detailing every single word he said anyway.
Then I found out there was a book.
I didn't write that book.
That was about to come out. I got a hold of Keefe D and his co-writer.
And the black thing, the lady, she gave me $150,000.
So watch how this entire play develops. First, Greg Kading calls him up and says, hey man, I'm putting the video out. Once that happens, somebody else gets in Keefe's ear and tells him, look, Greg is already writing a book and putting all your business out there anyway. You might as well write your own book and at least get paid for your own story. And then, right on cue, who comes knocking? Vlad TV. They reach out and offer him $150,000 to sit down in front of the cameras and do those exact interviews everyone is talking about today. Do you guys see how this setup works?
And we scheduled an interview, and we just went from there.
I mean, he appears to have incriminated himself in this interview, certainly the last one. Did you believe he was doing that as you interviewed him?
Well, I think that he believed that he had a level of immunity.
Yeah, and you have to ask yourself why he even thought he had a level of immunity to begin with. It is simply because Greg Kading looked him in the face and told him he had immunity.
Can you take me through how you got Keefe D to cooperate?
Yeah, it's the kind of typical investigative strategy where you get somebody to where you have leverage on them. And once you have leverage on them, you introduce the scenario to them and let them make a decision whether or not they think it's in their best interest to cooperate. That's essentially what we did. Built a drug case against him that was going to put him potentially in jail for the rest of his life, and said, here's your opportunity to mitigate that situation and tell us the truth about what happened in Tupac's murder or Biggie's murder, whichever you happen to be involved in. And he agreed, his lawyer agreed, and there was a formal agreement between the U.S. Attorney's Office and Keefe D's attorney. And
they broke me a script to follow. My lawyer came with the script. It seemed like he was in bed with them the whole time.
Sat down and started the process of cooperating, and he enlightened us to the details as far as he knew them. It's a very complicated prosecution, based on the fact that so much time has passed. We don't get that information till 2009. A lot of the witnesses and co-conspirators were dead. Keefe D's a convicted drug dealer, a known gang member. He's perjured himself before, so his own credibility will be in question. And now you're taking his information, and he has immunity in regard to his own confession. And he has immunity, and he has immunity, and he has immunity in regard to his own confession. And so now we can only go after co-conspirators, all of whom die with the exception of Puffy.
When he did the proffer agreement.
And they were not allowed to record interviews. And so we were honoring that for Jeff, the FBI guy with us, because he said he can't sit in if they're being interviewed unless he goes and gets special approval. And we weren't going to wait around for that. His decision to surreptitiously record that interview is everything. I can't even tell you, I could never have done the book or any of these things. We wouldn't be here where we are today, honestly, I don't think, if he hadn't secretly recorded that entire interview.
I think the recording that I've listened to where Greg Kading just starts doing all the talking, that's not how a proffer session works on the federal side. In reading this transcript, once Detective Long leaves the room, they're completely leading Keefe on what to say and to stick to the story.
They wrote me a script to follow. My lawyer came with the script. It seemed like he was there with them the whole time.
And not let Keefe speak freely. And instead, they're putting words in his mouth to say, this is what you need to state during this interview. In reading this transcript, once Detective Long leaves the room, they're completely leading Keefe on what to say and to stick to the story and not let Keefe speak freely. And instead, they're putting words in his mouth to say, this is what you need to state during this interview. If you stick to this story, you'll sleep well. If you don't stick to this story, you're not going to sleep well, and we're going to potentially cause problems for you, which is complete police coercion, which is crazy. It's not acceptable, obviously. It's hard to be believed, but I'm reading it, so yeah.
You just heard former FBI agent Phil Carson acknowledge that the LAPD coerced Keefe D's statement.
That's supposed to be.
This proves that the FBI is fully aware of the hidden truths surrounding this case.
Now he's pointing the finger at someone else. Chief Investigative Correspondent Erica Tursky has this ABC News exclusive.
We ain't meant to survive because it's a setup. The death of rap legend Tupac Shakur nearly 30 years ago became one of the nation's most notorious unsolved murders. Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here. Then in 2023, a breakthrough when prosecutors charged this man with ordering the hit, the only person arrested for Shakur's murder, who now tells ABC News authorities have the wrong man.
I'm innocent. I ain't killed nobody, never did ever kill nobody. They don't have no evidence against me. Came and put me in Las Vegas.
61-year-old Dwayne Keefe D Davis says the night of the murder, September 7th, 1996, he was in Los Angeles, 300 miles from the Las Vegas intersection where Tupac Shakur was gunned down.
Prove that I orchestrated this. You know what I'm saying? Your key witness orchestrated this, orchestrated this, orchestrated this.
I'm never mind.
They top witness is the lead suspect. They top witness is the lead suspect.
I think that Reggie has managed somehow to play everybody off against everybody else, and that includes law enforcement. He is he's an informant / suspect in all of these crimes.
The defense pointing to someone else, Reggie Wright Jr., a former cop and security guard for record mogul Suge Knight, who was driving the car Tupac was in the night he was shot. Wright has denied any involvement and has said, it bothers me because I was in charge of possibly protecting this young man.
But I think at the end of the day, ultimately, Reggie is and will be the fall guy at the end of the day.
Reggie is being set up as the fall guy, but we know the orders came from much higher up. They're going to pin all the blame on him, but we're aware of where the real problem started.
There's a lot of conversations going on all the time. Don't go to Vegas, don't go to Vegas, don't go to Vegas. Because at the time, there's a lot of trouble in Vegas, a lot of gangs in Vegas. Oh, look, instinctively, I felt like there was trouble.
What happened? I insisted they get real police because I didn't want to. I said, I just can't do this anymore. You know, it's just crazy. I come to the studio and there's all these guys and it doesn't feel like, you know. So next time I go, there's real police, right? Way after it ends, I found out they were Rampart guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I had no idea. How am I supposed to know? You know. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm innocent or guilty. I'm just saying that it happened.
I think at the time he was saying that he had cancer, so maybe he didn't think he had much time to live. So he was just kind of letting it loose at that point. But, you know, it was a little bit crazy that he actually sat down and we did everything. And when I asked him about it, sometimes he would try to dodge certain questions, but ultimately I used the book as a blueprint. So whenever a question wouldn't get answered, I said, well, the book said X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, he kind of went along with what was written in the book.
I didn't like that book.
Gene Deal, happy to have you back, man. It's been a while, man. We haven't did an interview in like over a year, right?
Man, listen here, man. Suffering and taking bufferings, man, out here trying to get things right. So I know it's been a while, going through a whole lot of things with the family and everything, man, and just lost my mom and some other things. They had my name, a lot of other people that they want to bring in, and with my name on the witness list, I found it funny. The only reason they would want to have my name on the witness list is to make some connections with Keefe D and Puffy, Diddy, Papa Diddy Pop, Sean John, whatever that dude, Brother Love, whatever he called his name, they're going to want to try to make some connections with Keefe D and him. Did I ever see them talking with each other? Were they ever in the same room? Whatever kind of connections that they have, I think Keefe D has made statements. He has been around us on numerous occasions. I've seen Keefe D around us on numerous occasions, at concerts, in the hotels, several different places. I've seen them, gambling with each other, having fun. So if they bring me in on the Puffy, and it's only because they want to make some connections that Keefe D did have some kind of communications and did have some kind of dealings with Diddy. That's why they want to bring me in. You know what I'm saying? I spoke to Keefe D's lawyer, and he wants me to come and testify. And I told him that I was not going to testify. I'll be telling the prosecutor the same thing that I'm telling him. I ain't coming in there on behalf of Keefe D, and I ain't coming there on the behalf of the prosecution to testify against nobody. I'm not doing it. You can't get me to go in there and testify. And if I had to sit down, you know what I'm saying, because they want to deem me a hostile witness, or they want to deem me uncooperative, you know what I'm saying, and hold me in contempt, they could do that. I don't have a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going in there testifying for nobody, against or for nobody. You know what I'm saying? And I know I've said some things, regarding Keefe D and Puff on the internet, but that ain't got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going in there, to testify for what? They already got information. They already know that. What I'm going to testify to, and for what? To establish what?
What did his lawyer want you to testify about?
Well, when I spoke to him, he just said, I said some good things about Keefe D, and he wanted to bring me in, to testify on his behalf on some of the things he had heard on the internet. You know what I mean? So, bruh, he didn't get into detail, but I'll tell you what I told him, you understand, about this whole situation. I said, yo, if you want anybody to testify, let me give you what you call a get out of jail free card. If he would get Phil Carson, the FBI detective who worked on Biggie's case, and he worked on some of the information on the Tupac case. If he would get Phil Carson to come in there and to testify, for the behalf of the defense, to prove how they set this whole thing up with Keefe D, how they faked the proffer agreement, how they gave them information, you understand? How they gave him information and gave him a script to read. I heard Phil Carson say this right out of his mouth. He's an FBI detective. He's talking about LAPD. He's talking about LAPD. Greg Kading gave Keefe D a script to read. So if you want to say, and everybody talking about he was running his mouth, he was doing this, he was doing that. He was only saying the shit that LAPD told him to say. He was given a script. Phil Carson said that himself, an FBI detective, bro. So if Phil Carson, who was a decorated FBI agent, said that Keefe D was given a script to repeat in a fake felonious proffer meeting, then that's his witness. That's his get out of jail free card. They ain't got nothing on him. It is what it is. So I told Keefe D lawyer that, and he was surprised. Or he was faking, because he was like, Phil Carson. I said, yeah, Phil Carson. How you not know that? I mean, we had a long conversation about that. He was laughing, he was joking. He said, yo, I'm gonna look into that. I'm going to look into that. I said, I don't know why you haven't.
How is he Keefe D lawyer and he don't know who that is?
He could have been faking, bruh. He could have been throwing the Jake move on me or whatever. But if he don't have Phil Carson coming in there to testify on the behalf of the defense on what he know about the LAPD and what they did regarding this felonious proffer agreement they gave Keefe D, then he ain't as good as lawyer that, you know, he making out to be. I don't understand why. He should go in there and get Phil Carson to come in there and to testify. He should subpoena Phil Carson.
When Keefe D lawyer reached out to you, when did this take place, if you don't mind me asking?
Yo, you wouldn't believe it, bro. Today. He called me this morning. He said, yo, and I got the text message. I'll show you the text message. You could post the text message in this whole interview. He said, hi, Jane. My name is Michael Sapp, S-A-M-P. I'm an attorney and represented TPD. We are set for trial tomorrow. I came across one of your videos and I wanted to talk to you and a little bit about it. I'm interested in potentially having you testify in this case, but I want to make sure that I understand and at least have a conversation with you. If you can call me back, I appreciate it. My cell phone number is 702 That's 702 Thank you. I called him back and we had that conversation, brother.
That Reggie Wright Jr. was complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur.
Is it true was it true that Pac sent the fax that fired right way like the month before?
Not before. It was fired about 7 days before, on the 27th of August. Myself and David Kenner.
I can't say that I got it or didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't know about it. Because I'm the type of nigga to be like, fuck that nigga.
Your boy Delray, straight game. He's telling on himself. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy Delray Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this Straight Game, please do me a favor and click on what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I finally have come to the conclusion, not based on a bunch of hearsay and based on what other people say in other YouTube videos, that Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur. And Reggie Wright Jr. actually intentionally pulled the security off of Tupac in Las Vegas that night, allowing what happened to Tupac to actually take place. And I'm going to give you not what I'm saying, but his own statements and how he has changed the story once the evidence and the proof had come out that he was actually fired by Tupac as his personal security. I'm going to get into it like this. Check this out. So there was a video that I did a few months back. And when I did this video, Reggie Wright Jr. and Gullible John over at Bomb First, they actually copyright claimed my channel, right? For something that was would be considered fair use under the copyright law, right? You know, I'm criticizing basically the statements that he was saying. But the important part is this: the reason why they did that, because they did not want you to get the truth involving the actual statements that Reggie had made in regards to the Tupac situation and what Suge had ultimately said. You see now that Suge is speaking out, Reggie now has gone on this tangent about Suge. 1 week he's his friend, the next week he's, you know, talking bad about him. You know, he's straddling the fence, trying not to hit the divider of the fence, if you will. And I'm going to give it to you like this. So now, when I first came out with the fact that Tupac had fired Reggie on August 27th, 1996, Reggie had denied it. He denied that he even got the letter. Listen.
I can't say that I got it or didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't know about it. Because I sure would. I'm the type of nigga to be like, fuck that nigga.
Right? So now, he denied that. But the ultimate thing was he tried to create this theory, this fictitious story about another letter coming in and around the draft party of Keyshawn Johnson, if you will, right? Okay, now I want you to understand there was no letter sent in June during the Keyshawn Johnson draft party. None, no letter whatsoever. Period. Point blank. Right? And what you have to understand is when Suge says that he had asked Reggie to send 5 more security guards, Suge was actually talking about in Vegas. And when Reggie said that Suge asked him, where's Pac's security, right? Suge was actually talking about in Vegas, but Reggie tried to make it appear as if Suge was talking about at this Keyshawn Johnson birthday party. You understand? I want you to pay attention, man. Listen to me. Reggie tried to make it seem as if when Suge asked that question, that it was at Keyshawn Johnson's birthday party and somehow some letter had came in June. There was no letter in June. And what Reggie was trying to mix up or get the public to believe prior to the letter coming out, remember, he had denied being fired altogether until that fax was released.
I can't say that I got it or didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't know about it. Because I sure would. I'm the type of nigga to be like, fuck that nigga.
Is it true that
in that entourage?
was it true that Pac sent the fax that fired right way like the month before?
Not before. It was fired about 7 days before, on the 27th of August. Myself and David Kenner.
This is what he's saying now. This is a few days ago on a young lady's YouTube channel. And now he's copping to the fact that the letter came on the 27th, but is now trying to say that after it came, somehow, some way, that him and Tupac, it was squash. He said that Tupac was mad at Suge and so on and so forth. So that's why he fired Reggie as his security. That's a lie. Because before, as you've seen, he had been denying that it even happened. He didn't even get the letter. Now, all of a sudden, he's agreeing the letter came on the 27th. He's also sure of it. that it came on the 27th? Do you think it was because we released the letter or because he got the letter and hoping that no one else released the letter? Remember, Frank said he saw it. The guy at the security office said, Frank said that the guy at the security office showed it to him. You mean to tell me he showed it to Frank but didn't show it to the guy who was his actual boss? But the most devastating part is the fact that Reggie tried to push that out to June. He did not want anybody to know that it was that close to Tupac's death, that Tupac had fired him. And then after that, you could link the two together and saying Tupac firing Reggie on October 27th, Reggie pulling the security off of Tupac in Vegas because he was fired as his personal security on the 27th of 1996. And then thereafter, pulling the security off of Tupac intentionally in Las Vegas, right? On September 7th, 1996, Frank said that. Michael Moore said that. Suge said he told Reggie to send 5 more security guards, and Reggie sent nobody. That's when Suge was asking Reggie, where's the security for Pac? It wasn't at the House of Blues at all. It was in Las Vegas. You see? So he tried to lie and push that out to June because he didn't want people to put together and add up the days that it was shortly after that Tupac fired him, that he pulled the security off, intentionally pulled the security off of Tupac in Las Vegas. And then Reggie would attempt to then try to shift the blame to Frank Alexander, right? Saying that Frank didn't tell him something, right? Which is another blatant lie. Let me tell you why. Remember, Frank was the only one with Tupac walking through the MGM Grand. And the reason why that was so, because Tupac told Frank that Frank was going with him when he was going to leave Death Row. Point blank, period. We also know that Reggie tried to blame Frank and said Frank didn't do enough. Oh, Frank did enough. Frank was the one that pulled Tupac off of Orlando Anderson. And you can clearly see that in the video. You understand what I'm saying? So now, the person that should have been getting credit was Frank Alexander. But the person that Reggie was trying to discredit was Frank Alexander because Reggie didn't like Frank. He speaks ill of Frank even after his death, right? When Frank was the only one there. And the reason why Frank was the only one there is because Tupac trusted Frank and he did not trust anybody else involved with that situation. He wanted Michael Moore there, right? And that was something that was confirmed also. But Reggie told Michael Moore because Michael Moore was the only person that had a gun, right? That could protect Tupac from that perspective. He told Michael Moore to come down to Club 662. And Michael Moore said that he adamantly fought against that, but decided to go, you know, not wanting to lose his job. He went down to Club 662. You understand? Reggie is now saying that he got the letter and he understood the letter to be delivered on the 27th of August, approximately 13 days before Tupac was shot. Right? I am convinced that Reggie Wright Jr. intentionally pulled the security off of Tupac so that something could happen to Tupac that night. I don't know what it was from the perspective of, because you can't link all of everything and what that was at that particular time, right? But like I said, once again, for the negligence, for the insubordination, and being the security for Tupac and being hired by Death Row, Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit in Tupac's death. And this new information, this new interview, it only compounds what I thought already. But now he's trying to say, oh, it came on the 27th and not in June like he lied about before, because like I said, he didn't want he didn't want you to be able to put together, right, the timeline. August 27th, Tupac shot what? September 7th. He was mad. He was in a vindictive move. And he said it in the other video, fuck Tupac. Right? He didn't care. You seen that he had called Suge Knight. He even called Suge Knight a snitch. Then he double backed on that. Oh, me and Suge have our problems. Reggie Wright Jr. was complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur through negligence, through insubordination, and flat out just being a vindictive individual. And now, all of a sudden, he's claiming that he got the letter on the 27th. He's claiming that he knows everything about it. Now, he's saying that he was fired. I got the letter, I was fired. But we squashed it. No, you didn't. Tupac didn't. No, Tupac didn't want you as a security. And that was it. Period. The fact said so. And if there was anything else other than that, show us the letter that reinstated Right Way Security Services as Tupac's personal security again after that. They still work for Death Row. That's why Suge was saying, yo, when I told him to send 5 security guards, he should have sent them, but he didn't send them. But with this new video right here, yeah. You know, and that karma come thick, man. It come thick, man. You know, a lot of people say they don't believe in that, right? But what you believe in and what happens in the universe has nothing to do with what you believe. So I just wanted to bring you this video because it's very important that everybody knows this. Reggie Wright Jr. has been walking around telling these Tupac lies, all of these stories. When I come and I bring it to you, like I said, he had been denying it. Even after the letter had came out, he still was denying it. He was hoping that somebody could come and offer some kind of explanation for him. It simply is not so. Tupac fired him, and he pulled the security off of Tupac that night. That's why Frank was the only one with him. Now, all of a sudden, he's saying that it was 20 other guys, 20 guys on Tupac that night. He's saying the guys from the gang or whatever, that's what he said. The guys from the gang, it's 20 other guys that I trusted with him that night.
There were 20 guys with Tupac that night. 20. Guys that I trust more than Right Way security guys. That was street niggas, game bangers, and all of them.
Is it true that
in that entourage?
Was it true that Pac sent the fax that fired Right Way like the month before?
Not before. It was fired by 7 days before, on the 27th of August. Myself and David Kenner.
I can't say that I got it or didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't know about it. Because I'm the type of nigga to be like, fuck that nigga.
Are you kidding me? Once again, he can't accept responsibility. He can't accept the accountability for his actions. Y'all not paying attention. Now he's putting it off on the homies now. It's off on the homies now? It's their fault now? No. The only person fault is Reggie Wright Jr. He failed Suge. He failed Tupac. His security company was a failure from day one. He didn't have the proper protocol in place. None of those things. You got to understand what I'm trying to tell you right now. Listen. He's now saying that it was the homies' fault, not his. Not the people that he was paying to be on the payroll of Right Way Security. Mine is Frank Alexander, who was the person that was there.
There were 20 guys with Tupac that night. 20. Guys that I trust more than Right Way security guys. That was street niggas, game bangers, and all of them.
Is it true that
in that entourage?
Was it true that Pac sent the fax that fired Right Way like the month before?
Not before. It was fired by 7 days before, on the 27th of August. Myself and David Kenner.
Right? Wow. Amazing. Amazing. The story just keeps, the lies just keep shifting, and the story just keeps shifting. And then to top that off, recently Reggie Wright Jr. came out and said, I'm not gonna be mad if Keefe D go free. When just a few months ago he was touting, for Keefe D's arrest and talking all kinds of craziness involving that situation. But you know what? What we're not paying attention to, and what's kind of slipped under the radar, is the fact that Reggie was one of the first people to testify for the grand jury in regards to Keefe D. And what came out, it was that Reggie Wright Jr. had been lying all along about the Nextel radios. He said they didn't have a walkie-talkie feature on them, but went in front of the grand jury and admitted that they did. It's lie after lie after lie after lie to cover up lie after lie. You understand what I'm saying? So when you see Reggie Wright Jr. and you look at him on camera, know that you can't believe not a word that comes out of his mouth. Like I said, I've showed you on numerous occasions where he's lied. And I understand sometimes the lie is more entertaining than the truth. But the truth runs marathons. Lies just run a few sprints. And then the truth creeps in and says, oh, yeah, you pulled security off of Tupac that night deliberately because you were fired on the 27th, which now you're admitting that the letter came on the 27th when Reggie was denying the whole thing before. Oh, it was in June. It was a letter I got in June. Show us the letter from June. I bet you can't, because there was no letter in June. And when he says that, Suge Knight said, Reg, where's Pac security? He was asking them that in Vegas. Reggie tried to change the story. Pay attention. It was in Vegas that Suge asked him that. So Suge is telling the truth. You get it? And then we have happened what happened. Even Frank said after the situation that happened, remember, Frank said that they went back to Suge house, right? And Suge was mad at Frank. Frank, what happened? You ain't have your gun, da-da-da-da. And then that's when it came out about the situation involving Reggie. And Frank said that Suge looked at Reggie and said, Reg, what's up? And Reggie said that, oh, I wasn't the, such and somebody else was the supervisor that night. But Reggie was in Vegas down at Club 662. And Reggie lied about who rode to the hospital with him. Michael Moore said he rode to the hospital with Reggie. Reggie never mentioned that. You know why? Because that would place Michael Moore in the vicinity with Reggie Wright Jr. as they were getting into the car when Michael Moore said that he heard the words, got him. Don't say nothing else over the radio. You understand that? That's why Reggie never admitted that Michael Moore rode to the hospital with him when they were going to the hospital to see about Suge and see about Tupac being shot. He never mentioned Michael Moore, but Michael Moore said it. You get it? If he puts Michael Moore next to him or riding in the car, right? When they're going to the hospital, if he admits that, which is true because Michael Moore said he didn't have no reason to lie. If he admits that, then that puts Michael Moore in his vicinity to hear, got him. Amazing. Y'all might not have been able to put it together, but I put it together now. I understand it now. Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit in the death through negligence and insubordination and many other things. Reggie Wright Jr. is complicit in the death of Tupac Shakur. Without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. Your boy Del Rey, straight gang.
has never believed that Sirhan killed my father.
Tupac knew if he was going to be killed, he knew it was going to be somebody from the death row organization.
Tupac kind of falls into my left arm.
A music icon killed in our streets.
I'm asking what happened, who shot you?
Fox 5 News investigates theories of revenge, corruption, and rap's most powerful.
It leads back to
throwing your hints.
Breaking news. Oh, it wasn't Keefe D that did it. It's Reggie Wright that did it.
I'm dry snitching like a motherfucker.
This is going to be a tough decision for any young officer to make. And he's got a choice. On one end, he's...
Who Killed Tupac? Thursday on Fox 5 News at 10.
Well, I wanted today to talk about LAPD and whether or not they have ever participated in a cover-up previously evidence. And as all of you know, Kevin Gaines was in Las Vegas from 2 days before Tupac was shot until 2 days after Tupac passed away. And he was there on special assignment for the LAPD. Now, we all know that David Mack, Rafael Perez, Kevin Gaines were at the site of the Biggie murder. And we know that Rafael Perez was there kicking the shell casings and messing up the crime scene while he was on duty in an LAPD uniform. So the city of Los Angeles would have 8 billion reasons to derail the investigations of both Tupac and Biggie. That's $1 billion for Biggie Smalls' lifetime earnings, $1 billion for Tupac's lifetime earnings, and triple damages, which is $6 billion for a total of $8 billion if they were found liable for these murders. Now, LAPD has participated in cover-ups previously, and I'm going to detail how they did this. Now, they derailed the confession letter. They derailed any investigation. The book was written by Greg Kading to pin it on Keefe D. And so LAPD had a vested interest to make sure that these cases never came to light. But there was a case that they derailed many years before.
Paul Schrade, who was with my father when he was shot, was a union leader, one of the heads of the United Auto Workers. He was the guy who recruited Cesar Chavez into the labor movement. And then he introduced him to my father, and they became best friends. And so Paul was very, very close to my father and was with him. The first bullet that Sirhan fired hit Paul Schrade in the head. And Paul Schrade has never believed that Sirhan killed my father.
Wow.
He knows that he shot him. But Sirhan, and so I ended up, Paul forced me to sit down to read the autopsy report, stuff I never wanted to do, and to look at all the evidence that has accumulated since my father's death. And
so Ethel's your mother, right?
Ethel's my mother.
Right.
So Sirhan was...
It's June 4th, 1968. A 15-year-old boy walks into the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. He's there on an assignment for his high school newspaper. U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy is in town, and he's giving a speech at the hotel. The boy's assignment is to take photos of it.
Thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Following the speech, the 15-year-old is following the senator around, snapping photos, when...
Senator Kennedy had been shot.
He's been shot?
That's right.
A former NFL player named Rosie Greer subdued Sirhan Sirhan, who we now know as the assassin of Robert Kennedy. Realizing that Kennedy had just been shot, the high school photographer starts taking photos of everything he can. Then, the LAPD appears. The boy is detained. All his photos, 3 entire rolls of film, are taken from him. 2 months later, the LAPD secretly burns 2,410 photos taken during the investigation. In time, they also destroy ceiling panels with bullet holes in them, x-rays of those ceiling panels, and spectrographic analyses of the bullets. Why would you do that?
My father was shot 4 times. One of the shots, and all 4 times were from behind.
What?
And with a gun and they were all what the coroner, Thomas Noguchi, said, contact shots. And the barrel of the gun was touching my father when the trigger was pulled. And he had carbon tattoos from all 4 shots. One of the shots went harmlessly through his sleeve and through his shoulder pad. All of the shots were fired from a low angle toward the ceiling.
A memo makes its way up the chain of command to Daryl Gates, responding point by point to the representative's questions. A key photograph taken during the investigation of the assassination was kept secret by Los Angeles police, who feared it might contradict official statements. The existence of this photograph is believed to be unknown by anyone outside of this department, and that the LAPD deliberately kept this a secret.
There were 77 eyewitnesses in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel when my father was killed. And many of them had a view of what happened. Very few of them could view the whole scene, but they could view parts of it. Everybody, without exception, places Sirhan from 5 feet to 10 feet away from my father in front of him. He never got behind him. He was always in front with a table between them, a steam table. Sirhan fired 2 shots at my father. The first one hit Paul straight in the head. The second one hit a door jamb at my father's head level behind my father. Then he was grabbed by Carl Olker, who was the concierge at the Ambassador Hotel, and by Rafer Johnson and 6 other people. There was a dog pile, and they all piled on him, and the first thing they did was grab his hand. They directed in the opposite direction, and they could not get the gun away from him. And he was powerful as a Superman, they said. So they were all trying to take the gun away from him.
This big.
He's a little guy. And he fired 6 shots in the other direction. All of them hit people. One person got hit twice, but all those bullets are accounted for. There were only 8 chambers in his gun. And 2 were fired toward my father and 6 in the opposite direction. And we know what happened to every one of those bullets.
The lawyer who defended the city of LA in a lawsuit filed by the 15-year-old boy whose photos of RFK's assassination were stolen from him.
Whoever fired those shots was standing behind him, concealing the gun and firing at the same time that Sirhan was distracting people, essentially. And the person who almost certainly fired those shots was a security guard who was holding my father's arm at that time, called Eugene St. Caesar. And a dozen people saw him with his gun drawn. My father fell back on him, and as he fell, he turned and pulled off Caesar's clip-on tie. Caesar lied to the police about his gun. He told many different stories about when he had drawn his gun. He lied. He said he did own a .22. The police didn't talk to him that night, didn't confiscate his gun. The time they talked to him, he said, yeah, I owned a 22, but I sold it a month before the shooting. As it turns out, that was a lie. He sold it a month after the shooting, and he sold it to a man who worked with him in the high security section of the Lockheed factory here in Los Angeles, who then moved to Arkansas, later talked to investigators and said, yeah, he had a receipt for when it was sold, and it was sold in July. My father was killed in June. And Caesar told him at that time, this gun was used in a crime, so don't talk to anybody about it. Caesar, as it turns out, is a CIA asset. He died about 3 weeks ago, and he died in the Philippines, where he's lived for the past 3 decades. What? And but he's almost certainly the person who killed my father. Now, his job as a security guard that night, he got 5 days before, when it was already known that my father was going to be speaking there. We don't know exactly what happened, but and then, the investigation was a botched investigation. It appears to have been deliberately botched by the LAPD. It was run by people within the LAPD, all of whom there was a special unit created called Special Unit Senator to investigate my father's death. Almost all the members of that unit were ex-CIA agents who had trained in the CIA farm in Virginia and shipped down to Latin America to do dirty tricks work there, and then brought back for this investigation. And they destroyed, before Sirhan's trial, they destroyed 1,200 pieces of evidence, including all the bullets, and about 1,200 photographs as well that were taken in the room that night. There's a lot of questions. I believed that there had been a trial. As it turns out, there wasn't a trial. Sirhan's attorney was an attorney who somehow, and nobody can explain how, he was a mob attorney who was representing Johnny Roselli, who had been, at that time, there was a famous trial in Los Angeles called the Friars Club trial. You know what the Friars Club is?
Please.
What is
it? The Friars Club is where they started roasts.
Oh, okay.
And it was all the Rat Pack actors like Joey Bishop and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin,
Sammy Davis.
Yeah, all of those guys were members of the Friar Club, and they'd get together every couple of months and roast one of their members. And to get in there, you had to be wearing a tux. And they also had a gambling, a poker game or a gambling casino. I'm not sure which, but there was a poker game in there. And as it turns out, Johnny Roselli was the owner of the club. Johnny Roselli was the CIA's liaison to the mob.
Wow, that's a trip. I used to read about him. He was in the 20s too.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. He was a devout Catholic. He didn't have a home address, but he was tied in with Giancana, but also Carlos Masallo and Trafficante. He had installed secret cameras in the Friars Club so they could read everybody's cards, and they were cheating. He got caught. And he was on trial at the time my father was killed. And it was a huge trial. And during that trial, his attorney got arrested for having the grand jury transcripts, which is illegal for anybody to have. It's a serious crime. You go to jail for it. And somehow he had gotten the transcripts of the grand jury. So, and clearly the mafia had bribed somebody to get that. Given it to the attorney. The attorney wouldn't tell where he got it, but he was facing criminal charges, also disbarment. And in the middle of all that, he was somehow appointed as Sirhan's attorney. He told Sirhan to plead guilty. If Sirhan had pleaded innocent, there was no way that he could have gotten convicted, because the bullets that were in his gun. The bullets that killed my father did not match the ballistics of the bullets in his gun, or the bullets that hit the other 8 people in the room.
Cover up big time.
Wow.
So according to the confession letter, the conspiracy started in Balboa Park, which was the city of Los Angeles, which would make this a murder that could be tried in the city of Los Angeles. But that wasn't what the LAPD wanted. So there's no lengths that they would go to cover up this crime. Reggie Wright Jr. was said to have handed off the gun at Balboa Park, and he was named as a suspect in the confession letter. Now, this is the same Reggie Wright Jr. who testified at the grand jury trying to put the frame on Keefe D. Reggie Wright Jr., the predicate of the Keefe D murder investigation and trial, soon to come, into the murder of Tupac Shakur, was the predicate that they used to get an arrest, and they're going to use to get a conviction on Keefe D. Reggie, who is the lead suspect in this murder investigation.
Las Vegas, Nevada. The most popular hip-hop star on the planet, Tupac Shakur, bleeds out in a BMW, victim of a drive-by shooting. 6 months later, rival rapper Biggie Smalls is brutally gunned down on the streets of LA in an eerily similar fashion. Both murders are forever linked and currently unsolved. Who killed Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls?
They'd have killed him right in front of the Pope.
Some say they were murdered by their closest allies.
They put a hit out on Pac for $1 million.
Were they truly victims of an East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry? Or was that just a cover for something more sinister?
Guns, drugs, money. This is a really bad formula here.
Anybody that ever put their hands on me, I'll tell you, might not get you that day, but you're going to get got.
Well, Reggie Wright is taboo, and he's part of it.
The Compton killings that occurred thereafter after Tupac was shot was just a diversion to make, general public, law enforcement believe it was a blood crip thing. When indeed, it was all orchestrated.
I have never been the type of guy that go and put any type of work, will never get no car and do nothing. I'm a reactor. I'm one that with you and that's going to react to things that happens. But yeah, I don't believe in being spontaneous at all. And so that's what I mean when I say I will orchestrate something.
Reggie Wright Jr., the head of security for Right Way Security and Death Row, organized the personnel to plan the hit. And I believe police officers were a big part of the hit.
If I want somebody to get slapped or something like that, we're going to put a plan together. You'll never get me being emotional like a bitch and spontaneous and taking penitentiary chances. No, you probably can slap me. And I always said, you slap me, you might get away with slapping me right then. But trust me, you're going to pay for that slap one day. And that's what I mean by that.
Now we need to check out another part of Michael Collins' theory. Reggie Wright Jr. and the allegedly dirty cops who he and Suge Knight was bringing into the inner circle of Death Row.
Stay away from Reggie Wright Jr.
I'm putting cases on some of them guys, so.
He is working with the feds.
Where are Biggie and Tupac?
As Denzel Washington said, I'm putting cases on.
You got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Freudian slip.
You got a lot to cover up.
We spoke to 2 head investigators on Tupac's murder. Here are their theories of the event.
I won't deny it, I'm a straight ride.
September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with his associates from Death Row Records, are leaving a Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Hotel and Casino when they see Orlando Anderson, a known Southside Crip from Los Angeles. In this video from inside the MGM, Shakur, along with Suge Knight, can be seen kicking and stomping Anderson. Just after 11 p.m., Tupac, Suge Knight, and the rest of their entourage of about 6 cars were headed to a club. They were stopped here at the intersection of Koval and Flamingo. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside Knight's BMW and opened fire. Shakur was sitting in the passenger side and was hit multiple times. This is the last photo taken of Shakur the night of the shooting. He died 5 days later at UMC at the age of 25. 6 months later in Los Angeles, East Coast rapper Christopher Wallace, otherwise known as Notorious B.I.G., is gunned down leaving a party. LAPD detective Russell Poole is assigned the case and found the murder of Shakur and Wallace were connected.
Russell Poole was investigating this crime, and it kept leading to off-duty police officers. And he kept being told by management at the LA, hey, stop, you're investigating.
Poole was eventually taken off the case. He quit the force and sued the LAPD. Author Michael Carlin helped Poole publish multiple books about his findings.
I'm just calling to tell you, look over your shoulder.
And says Poole never stopped working on the murders.
Dave Demersion is the senior ADA at the district attorney's office. We started having these meetings, and Dave was like, I'm still just not interested, not feeling this case. We doubled our efforts. We came up with 45 Tupac murder facts. We handed that to him. And finally he said, I am very interested in this case now.
In September 2015, 19 years after Shakur's murder, Poole scores a meeting with investigators.
A man takes 2 billion heartbeats, and the last 2,000 of his heartbeats are in a meeting with the sheriffs talking about sheriff corruption, and he passes away in the meeting. I mean, it defies logic.
Carlin says Poole had uncovered evidence that those inside Death Row Records planned to kill Suge Knight to take over the label. Shakur was also a target because, according to Poole, he was planning to leave the label and take hundreds of unreleased songs with him. FBI documents and former LAPD officers confirmed Death Row Records employed multiple officers who worked security.
The motive is Death Row Records. Death Row Records was worth $500 million. And the reality is, cops were involved in the murder of Tupac. The reason this hasn't been solved is because it leads back to cops.
Fox 5 tried to contact the former Compton police officer who took over Death Row Records after the murder. He did not respond.
Profile unsolved cases
Right here in Las Vegas. Exactly.
Incredible. Great work, Cindy.
Yes, Cindy. Thank you.
Several informants told investigators the white Cadillac used in the shooting of Tupac was rented. However, police were never able to track down the car. We also reached out to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. They told us they couldn't comment because the investigation into the death of Tupac Shakur is still ongoing. Greg Kading, the LAPD officer we spoke to for this piece, has published a book and has a documentary about his findings. He was taken off the investigation after an internal review found him guilty of altering witness statements.
And you are on their side. You're buddies with all of them, and you're protecting them. And why
You're
can't
right.
there just be
You're
an
absolutely
investigation?
right. Greg, what were you doing in 1996? Wait a second. Are we really going to get into, what were you doing the night of Tupac Shakur's murder?
So, guys,
what's going on?
Greg Kading is out. His lawyer won't let him do it. So, Greg Kading is out. His lawyer won't let him do it. So,
Hey, Greg, where were you the night Tupac Shakur was murdered?
I have absolutely no idea.
So we've been waiting around for Kading all day, and
and now
he's not
he's a
coming.
no-show.
Really, I wanted to talk to him because there's so much to ask him.
Yeah.
Greg Kading has no credibility on this subject matter. He became a task force member on the Biggie case 10 years after the fact. Kading left the LAPD in disgrace for his false testimony on a federal murder and racketeering case, United States versus George Toros Ramos, CR 06 656A SVW. Guilty verdicts were overturned in part due to Kading's testimony. He said LAPD cleared him of those charges, but that is not entirely true. Kading also had some help writing his book from disgraced LA Times reporter Chuck Phillips. Kading forget there were actual eyewitnesses to the Biggie killing. He spends a lot of time talking about things he knows nothing about. This is a desperate attempt for Kading to salvage his reputation. Suge Knight is a suspect, but not for the reasons Kading talks about. In closing, Kading never attempted to interview me regarding the Biggie investigation. He makes a lot of false statements about me and my part in the investigation. Retired LAPD homicide detective Russell Poole.
I used a racial term. I said, I'm not a racist.
Reggie Wright Jr., the head of security for Right Way Security and Death Row, organized the personnel to plan the hit, and I believe police officers were a big part of the hit.
He documented evidence that the CIA participated in cocaine distribution to Los Angeles gangs.
We've got all the DEA undercover tapes. We've got the FBI reports. We've got the court records. They're all posted for people to see.
I, too, was deeply disturbed by the allegations as reported in the San Jose Mercury News in August of 1996 of the Central Intelligence Agency's involvement in the introduction, financing, and distribution of crack cocaine
to Los Angeles gangs.
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
It was selling cocaine in Los Angeles for the most part, but in other areas of the country as well, to the gangs, to the Crips and Bloods.
Castillo had documented that the CIA directed this drug trafficking operation out of 2 hangars using Contra Supply Network as a route for shipping drugs into the United States.
So I got up and I said in Spanish to the comandantes, and they had some of the people from the Attorney General's office. I said, we think that all of you are corrupt. And they just looked at me. And I said in Spanish, and you think that all of us are stupid. And they began laughing. Then the hands started going up. Yeah, and we've got more dead Mexican soldiers and dead Mexican policemen, good, honest ones, than you do. And we know who the crooks are in this room. But you don't know who the crooks are on your side. But we're not going to tell you unless you do something about it. That's how we began. And Mr. Abel was listening to beepers and things like that. He didn't know what to do.
Narcotics is a very dirty, dirty business. I've only recently become aware of a narcotics trafficking scheme that's been going on since the mid-90s, whereby the LVMPD, the LAPD, and the LASD are all complicit. They're all involved in it. It emanates out of Compton, California. Okay. Now, again, I'm just the messenger. How many people know this? I mean, I'm definitely not right up there in the food chain. I'm way down here. And I learn about this. It's because everybody else has got a gag order on them.
Director Deutsch, I will refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me.
And then Calderoni, without getting into another big story, told us how he laundered $6 million in one day through Caesar's Palace, legally. Because he said, your president, Reagan, and Laxalt, the senator, exempted the biggest bank in America, which is called Las Vegas. So we bring the money there, they wash it, we give them a fee, and it goes to the banks in Switzerland. And what are you going to do about it?
Police corruption cannot exist. Cannot exist unless it is condoned and tolerated by upper police management.
The investigation was stymied by the chief of police, Bernard Park.
After the meeting, Mr. Ravel says, "Gentlemen, to all the FBI, what we just heard is classified top secret." And I laughed. I said, "You cannot classify anything that does not pertain to the national security of a country. You can't. And you cannot classify that which is embarrassing. Oh no, this gentleman, this cannot leave this room." I said, "We should publish this in all the newspapers so everybody knows how this, we've got people dying out here and we're up snatching up half a ton of marijuana and we're all initialing it and think it's all great. We're all heroes. And the cars are going through with black tar, heroin, and cocaine." Said there's no war on drugs. We're just killing people. Because when we get to the big ones, you don't want to hear about it. The big banks and how the Federal Reserve is involved in this. Oh, I think I have a meeting now. I said, there's corruption on both sides, and they'll tell us who it is. Didn't you hear it? I think I've got to catch my plane now.
Now, for those of you who don't know, the intelligence section for the LVMPD are just nothing but a bunch of thugs that do whatever the sheriff wants them to do. Doesn't matter if it's illegal or legal or unethical or immoral. Doesn't matter. I know this because I had a good friend that was in the intelligence section, and he dissuaded me from putting in a transfer to go to the intelligence section because they committed crimes every day. And it's everything from illegal wiretaps to narcotics transactions to murder to rape, you name it, whatever crime that's in the Nevada Revised Statute, they did it. And they did it under the orders and protection of the sheriff.
Greg, what were you doing in 1996?
The investigation was stymied by the chief of police, Bernard Park.
Happy heavenly birthday to Tupac Shakur. Today, 2025, it is the birthday of Tupac Shakur. And we know more now than we've ever known before about these murders. Keefe D got hemmed up and a bunch of new information has come out. Suge Knight has gone on Piers Morgan and he's talked again about the murders. And now we know way more than we've ever known before. And so today is Tupac Shakur's heavenly birthday. So all y'all go out there, pour out your liquor in honor of Tupac Shakur. And now I'm going to play something special for you in honor of the birth of the greatest rapper of all time, Tupac Shakur.
Just the facts. The facts of the matter is this. It's a guy named Reggie Wright Jr. who was over security. He didn't work directly for Death Row, but he had a security company called Right Way Security, who did security for Death Row with off-duty police officers or guys with a CCW. Everybody knows when we go to a fight in Vegas, we're going to be at the Tyson fight, and we're going to be at my club they call Club 662. You can go to that club and you'll see Mary J. Blige perform, Jodeci performs, Tupac performs, Snoop and the Dogg Pound, Andre. I mean, unbelievable talent in one place. That night was going to be Run DMC East Coast night. Reggie Wright Jr. told the security they can't carry firearms. The sad thing about that, Pac hated Reggie Wright Jr., so he had fired him before any of that. I don't know the right date, but I'm quite sure it was. It's paperwork that shows it. But the crazy thing about that, it was a bodyguard named Frank Alexander. Pac hated Frank. He was cool at first, but towards the end, he hated Frank because Frank always wanted to get into pictures with Tupac. And Tupac was very militant, so he was like, man, I don't want a bodyguard taking pictures with me. How is he watching my back if he getting himself in the pictures? So I hired a guy named Michael Moore and told him to bring another off-duty police officer because they kept their gun and they was real aggressive by protecting Tupac. So on the way to the fight, Reggie Wright Jr. tell Michael Moore he can't carry his weapon when he's doing bodyguard work for Tupac. Michael Moore said, well, I'm going back to the hotel. If I can't carry my gun, I can't protect myself or Tupac, so I'm not going. So Reggie Wright Jr., who nicknamed that Pac gave him Pork Butt, so Pork Butt goes and says, Frank, you can go, but you can't bring your gun. Now, everyone knows you can't be a bodyguard without a gun. So after the fight, we come from the fight. Tupac got into it with another guy. It was a big fight. After that fight, after we stopped to a few places, we go to my house. I told Frank, I told all the security, I told everyone, Pac just beat up a well-known gang member. Send 4 or 5 guys extra to the house to escort Tupac to the club. Reggie Wright Jr. refused to send the security guys, refused to show up. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a murder for hire hit. We was blocked in. It was more than one shooter. Only person know the truth, the real truth, is me and Tupac. He's not there to tell it. Only person knows is myself. But Reggie Wright Jr. tried to change the whole story of the narrative of what actually happened, and he was not there. During that situation, Snoop, who everyone knew at the time, wanted Tupac dead. Snoop had a meeting with Daz, Corrupt, Nate Dogg, the Dog Pound. Said, we're not going to Vegas. This is their words, not mine. We're not going to Vegas because basically something's going to happen. Somebody's going to get killed, right? So Corrupt tells the story. Daz tells the story. Warren G tells the story. Now, what Daz says, when Snoop said there, I said, damn, we can't go to Vegas. Who's going to get those niggas? They're already going to get guy, basically. Corrupt tells the story and says, once he tells everybody they can't go to the fight and can't go to Vegas, turns around, Nate Dogg says, I'm going to go to Vegas. Then because I'm going to Vegas, I don't got to be around basically me and Pac. He said, as long as I ain't around them, I don't have to worry about getting shot or getting a stray bullet. That lets you know, premeditated plan. Warren G says, when the fight was going on, he was watching at his house. Snoop came over to watch the fight. Snoop had a walkie-talkie. These walkie-talkies, he only got this walkie-talkie that I bought for security and the principal that security doing security with. And they worked on all the West Coast. So if you're an artist and you go into the mall or you're going somewhere, they have a walkie-talkie, security have a walkie-talkie. If you're not going to an event with any of the security details, you don't have a walkie-talkie. Because I didn't buy that many because I wanted to be exclusive to hand them out who was needed. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so Snoop comes in, according to Warren G, and he got this big walkie-talkie. They start hearing the gunshots. When we getting shot, Snoop listening to it in real time. Pow, 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 all over the radio. That's when he tell them, hey, I got to go. They just killed Tupac and shot Suge. How would you know? Nobody sat there on the radio. You just heard the shots. Now, Reggie Wright Jr. and Michael Moore in the car. They get on the radio, and they say, hey, got him. Another guy gets on the radio. They say they think he's a white guy or a lawyer. And they say, hey, don't talk on the walkie-talkies on the radio. Don't talk on the air, right? So to move things forward, maybe, I don't know if it was 6 months or longer, however it was, since I've been in this prison right here. Somebody played that for me with Michael Morstead. So when I know that attorney David Kenner always says, you can be on your cell phone and people be talking to me like, hey, don't talk on your cell phone. Somebody listening. They recorded and you can't do that. They're listening to you. So I know that's the saying. So jokingly, I told David, I said, hey, was that you on the walkie-talkie? Because that's your line. Don't talk on the phone. Now you use one saying don't talk on the walkie-talkie. So that's being said, David Kenner goes and says, Shook, I never had a walkie-talkie. I would never have a walkie-talkie. Would I need one for it? Never. So I'm saying, wow, he's so bent out of shape, but I was joking about it, right? I said, you never had a walkie-talkie? He said, that's not me talking on a walkie-talkie. I never said he was talking on a walkie-talkie. So that raised red flags. Didn't think that much about it. So Kenner had sent some of my boxes and files to another attorney. And another attorney got them, right? At the time, he wanted the boxes back. That didn't make sense. So when we discovered a walkie-talkie in the boxes, you know, nobody puts something in the box that they're going through the exact same way. So the walkie-talkie, my guess, probably was in one box. And when they looked at everything and reading through everything, and they was asking me about this walkie-talkie, they had put it in another box. Kenner, a guy named Steve that works for Kenner, went and grabbed the boxes from another lawyer he has it. Went and stole the wrong boxes that the walkie-talkie was in, but we still got the walkie-talkie. I said, send me a picture of it. So on my tablet, they could send photos, so they sent me a photo of the walkie-talkie. It blew me away. One part of me, it made my blood boil. Another part of me, I just seen Tupac's face flash all in my mind. I said, these motherfuckers involved with the assassination. So I tell Kenner about it. I said, David Kenner, you said you didn't have a walkie-talkie. Now you had one. So after that, our relationship after 30-some years went cold. He went and told the judges. He started trying to pull off my case. He tried to sabotage my case. He did, and everything I'm telling you about is the proof. What we do know, money was paid out. What we do know, according to these guys, to the police, not the police actually doing the investigation, the cricket cops. The culture of hip hop is so important, and it was so powerful. It could have been done so great. But I still stand behind what I stand behind. Frank Alexander, in tears, told me that these people was all involved. And that's why he did not perform the way he wanted supposed to perform. And if you really look at the other situation, he got interviewed by the grand jury, Frank Alexander. And he lied to him at first. He said everything started over a chance.
Should know, everybody know, Sharita Knight's police boyfriend, Kevin Gaines, is the fucking Tupac shooter, the police officer. The one Suge them kidnapped with Sharita and took out there, stripped him butt naked, and was going to kill him when he found out they was fucking around. Kevin Gaines was later killed by Frank Liger, a racist white cop, to shut him up. But Suge not going to never say Kevin Gaines the shooter. But Suge knows it wasn't Keefe D. He said it wasn't Orlando. That's a fact. But all this he's saying about the conspiracy to the police and all, this all the truth. But he never going to tell you, everybody, it was Kevin Gaines, the police officer who was fucking with his wife, tried to kill him and Tupac.
Chain, which is a lie. He says when we walk into the MGM, Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac chain. So the second day he go to get interviewed, he said, I got to clear up something I lied the other day. I said, why'd you lie? He said, Reggie Wright Jr. told me to say that they tried to snatch Tupac's chain, which was a lie. It's an audio of Snoop Dogg basically admitting why Tupac's dead.
We know that David Mack and the other dude with the people they put down, because they was outside the Peterson Museum after the whole shit went down.
See, these motherfuckers cold-hearted, nigga. They put the hit on Pac and Suge, and then they killed Biggie to blame it on Suge. Same people. And that's why Suge always said, if you solve one, you're going to solve both of them, because it's the same people.
Greg Kading, the LAPD officer we spoke to for this piece, has published a book and has a documentary about his findings. He was taken off the investigation after an internal review found him guilty of altering witness statements.
Kading should be brought up on charges for falsifying evidence.
Hey, Sharita, you that's what my friend want me on the phone now. Be nice.
No, that was my friend too. That was my friend
That's still your friend.
That's my friend too.
And you are on their side. You're buddies with all of them, and you're protecting them. And why can't there just be an investigation?
Right.
So guys,
What's going on?
Greg Kading is out. His lawyer won't let him do it. So
So we've been waiting around for Kading all day, and
yeah, and
he
now
is not
he's a
coming.
no-show.
Really, I wanted to talk to him because there's so much to ask him.
Yeah.
If it wasn't me, I would have liked the whole scene too. But my friend knew that what was portrayed in that movie.
They playing a dangerous game playing with this Tupac case, because they're going to open up a can of worms with that Biggie case. They going to try. That's why they try to kill Suge so many times, so they can just blame it on him. But he hard to kill. He won't die. These people killed Biggie and stole $1 billion company. This was all about money, nigga. They stole Death Row, stole billions of dollars by stealing that company.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not even going down Kevin's line. I'm talking about Sharitha Knight. You knew for a fact that was not said in that living room.
Everywhere, big business. You want to be successful? You want to be like Trump?
Where are Biggie and Tupac?
You got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Audience, that
You got a lot to cover up.
We got a lot to cover up.
About 2 weeks after that, I was contacted by Reggie to go over to Santa Monica Police Department to pick up this firearm.
Hackey says he first showed the handgun to his FBI handlers and then turned it over to Reggie Wright Jr.
The common denominator on both of those is Reggie.
A month later in Las Vegas, investigators say it was a 40 Glock handgun that killed Tupac Shakur. Hackey believes the murder weapon was the same gun he gave Reggie Wright Jr.
I believe it is.
What up, Ballford family? How y'all doing? Hey, John, we got a lot to cover up, y'all.
That nigga Reggie is psycho.
We got a lot to cover up.
Reggie knows. I know he does. Because he said some things that are weird. I said, dang, man, that's pretty sad. I said, financially, that's going to fuck some shit up. And he goes, we ain't going to be hurt for nothing.
Puffy was going up the stairs, and he said, I don't care if Tupac died, I don't care if Biggie gotta die, and I don't care if Suge gotta go to prison for the rest of his life.
Now, getting back to Russell, Russell was following in the footsteps of his dad, and he was able to work through the LAPD and have all the things that had to be done within the LAPD. He certainly knew the streets very well, and circumstances in his case were far more tragic because he was killed in the line of duty,
Hold your head on repeat. Listen to the beat again and again in my playpen till Tupac appeared to me. Finally, I see. How do we keep the music playing with these devils betraying? Rap games, ghost, hocus pocus flows, exposing my foes and their John Does. Mad respect, Russell Poole detect, murders checked. Now rest your head, bless the dead while the message spreads. Machiavelli said, my killers have not yet bled.
They got to be sorry for what they did. Like I said, I had two of the toughest guys for
for me. It didn't have to happen. I told him to send 5 guys from the club to there, and they never sent nobody.
Suge was set up.
I'm like, cuz, you going to Vegas? You going to Vegas, cuz? They finna try to do something to me.
I mean, murder is pretty simple. The first person you go after is the spouse.
Perez and them was all involved. They were trying to kill me too, but see, because Perez and Reg was good friends, and Perez and Sarita and Reg is great friends, and so all those three together was trying to plot.
Why would I want a paper trail when I never brought him around nowhere? So if I'm gonna hide him in secret, you think I'm gonna let somebody catch a paper trail? They were paid cash by Snoop.
This call and your telephone number will be not.
What they talking about is Snoop hired as his personal bodyguards that he paid cash Kevin Gaines, her boyfriend, police officer that hated Suge Knight guts. Suge had already kidnapped him, stripped him, and took him to the desert, him and Sarita, and made them think that he was going to kill him, but left him out there to die. Snoop hired them as his personal bodyguards. Kevin Gaines is the killer of Tupac Shakur.
Monitored and recorded.
It was a murder for hire hit.
If it was an actual shooting in Vegas, it's on camera in Vegas.
His witnesses that said they gave no sex to kill me. So I knew it was cameras everywhere in Vegas because I went to UNLV.
All of the corners in Vegas was equipped with cameras.
Those guys, if you go back and watch the film, they was already stalking Pac, watching him. So that just tipped the iceberg when something happened. But there was a plan already to do something to him.
So how come Reggie is Suge's bodyguard and he wasn't with Suge?
We went to Las Vegas Metro in 97. After Biggie was killed, I think there's got to be a connection between the two. The politicians said they don't want to solve it, so they told the investigators, put it up on the show. I'm quite sure if they saw the first one, they would saw the second one, because it's the same circle of people.
You got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Freudian slip.
You got a lot to cover up.
Orlando wasn't even the shooter, you know? He was actually a good kid, too, you know?
The same guy that told them, Orlando Anderson, told them that Biggie got killed by the Southside Crips.
Technically, nobody knew about the whole thing.
No, let me just say that.
No, it wasn't the discrepancy. The discrepancy is people say I called names. I didn't call names. I didn't say it was Orlando, Keefe, and all of them.
I had gotten all kind of intelligence from my informants an hour after the shooting went down. He called me and started telling me, hey, man, you know, there was Orlando and them behind this. They got in a fight because they saw the chain, saw Orlando and all that. He says, but it's them.
I didn't know about the beatdown until a couple of days later.
Trickery, witchery, foolery, flop, plot to take out Suge and Pac. Traffic stop starts the clock. Collusion of industry, street and cop.
LA had tricked Vegas to have their police and their people out there during that time. Some gang initiative or whatever.
Filmmaker takes one last shot. 60 seconds after, no more laughter. Half Dead whips out Fatal's Glock. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop.
Quite the head turner, they's dad came over Nate's burner. Got 'em on Porky Squawker, surviving a real shocker. Fat ass said, we got a lot to cover up, y'all, and that's what's up. Stripped the straps, unloaded gats, Buntry shot back. 3 men in the caddy, just smoked a fatty, but it wasn't Sugar Daddy.
Supposedly there's a hit on Suge.
Wounds are life-threatening, but serious, not in critical condition at this time. And the person, as you are already aware, who is the passenger in this vehicle, is a known rap performer by the name of Tupac Shakur.
All the traffic lights, all the cameras, there's no way possible anybody should got away with that.
With Tupac, I still got a 45 bullet etched to my skull.
We've been informed that doctors have told the family members that they expect the rap star to once again recover from his injuries.
They know who was going on behind all that stuff, you know. how much would it cost to get rid of Suge? They said, what you mean by get rid of him? He said, kill him.
They put a hit on Suge.
Reggie's dad told me that. Well, he said, Michael, if anything happened to Suge, this is what he told me. Anything happened to Suge, Reggie would run the majority of the company.
It's the same people, same circle of people. Have nothing to do with me, you know?
Sharitha's on the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then you gonna sit here and think
Who is your biggest defender, Sharitha?
And let Suge attack. That's how I feel.
Yeah, Reggie would carry most of the burden.
It come from because they want the ownership of my company.
Hey, John, you got a lot to cover up, y'all.
Doctor said Pac's on the mend.
We tried to form some security detail, at least around the floor, around his room, because they had him on the first floor.
Surrounded by friends, foes called in to make kin spin, finish him off.
We were pissed off. I'm like, this is an assassination attempt, right? And y'all got him on the first floor near a window.
Pac shook the bed, for his life he pled.
By the time I got there, remember I was coming from LA. So by the time I got there, he had tubes in his throat, in his nose, in his mouth. So he ain't talk to me, not verbally. He was conscious. He was trying to talk. He did want to talk, but he didn't actually verbalize any words. I always, that's going to be one of the biggest mysteries in my life, because he was trying to tell me something. He was trying so hard. He was shaking the bed. He was looking at me, with his big old eyes, and I know he was trying to tell me something, but I don't know.
IVs to the vein go straight to the brain. Poison would ease his pain. It only took a drop to make his heart stop. D.O.G. Scorsese created the distraction. Lulled protectors in action for the final transaction.
The head of gangs and homicide from the Compton PD is Reggie Wright Sr., and the head of security at Death Row is Reggie Wright Jr.
The vice president on TV talking about taking my record off the shelves. Police, every time they see me, they think I'm a cop killer.
It was an assassination attempt on Suge in Las Vegas, who would have everything to gain. Tupac and the other artists on Death Row, it turned to jealousy, and from jealousy to hate.
I don't know what kind of next tail he had, but he had the motherfucker could go that whatever it was hitting him all the way from what was going on from Vegas.
I could have jumped out on his ass in Vegas, but it was killing me. But Snoop was like, "Hold on, don't fuck this up."
They was like, we could hear the shit, and then he started getting calls and shit, and they was telling him that Tupac got shot. And
he the only one knows the reason why Tupac did more than me. I was in the car with him.
And I was told it was an operation. It was a planned assassination.
How come Reggie is Suge's bodyguard? He wasn't with Suge.
He wanted to be Suge Knight so bad.
Where's that where he come from? It come from because they want the ownership of my company.
Because I feel like the same people that was trying to kill Pac was trying to kill Suge. You know what I'm saying? Them bullets was coming for everything in that car.
And if I do that, I'll be putting handcuffs on Snoop.
Police did not follow up on the most basic lead.
Just happened to have officers in the right spot at the right time. We're able to radio ahead.
The cops that they trying to connect to Death Row were never hired on Death Row.
He had no relationship with any police officers.
When I got shot, it was 37 cameras.
All the artists at Death Row was willing to come with me.
And other rappers who wanted to check it out.
Yo, it was so much corruption in LAPD. If they would have solved big case, LAPD would have been shut down.
I'm scared of no one. My pitch was to the record labels and to the company was to have police officers that could be good witnesses and for the inmates.
You crooked ass cop.
I didn't need to take from niggas. I was institutionalized, motherfucker. If I felt threatened by anybody, it wasn't no real. Nigga would have went to jail for a long time fucking with me.
Get everything you deserve.
Perez and Sharita and Reg is great friends, and so all those three together was trying to plot.
You always will tell you, those are Reggie people.
Suge didn't let none of my security ride with me, because I feel like they finna try to do something to me.
Police corruption cannot exist. Cannot exist unless it is condoned and tolerated by upper police management.
Greg Kading is out. His lawyer won't let him do it.
You crooked ass cop.
Las Vegas PD is given a copy of the confession letter. They do absolutely nothing with it.
Could it be that the police department had something to do with Tupac's murder?
Coroner's hearse, idols nearby, a dear mama goodbye. Rushed autopsy, quick cremation, police celebrations. Enemies snicker, Haitian bootlicker. We the people mourn, hearts are torn, bulk of the nation, radio stations, next generation.
And that's what happened. Our lives was in jeopardy.
You know, situation was, you know, me and Pac had a little falling out a day or two before that in New York.
Now, you know you don't take no ass like that unless something's up. Unless the goose is cooked.
Who do you think killed Tupac?
I believe Orlando Anderson killed Tupac.
Are Sharita and Reggie Wright Jr. telling the truth? Michael Carlin doesn't think so.
Orlando wasn't even a shooter, you know. He was actually a good kid, too, you know. No, Orlando Anderson, here he is, the only Southside Crip standing in the casino. He was planetary.
Wow. Last time I saw him, he was laying in bed, holding on to his last breath.
Yeah, John, we got a lot to cover up.
Sold cops throw shade and blame, fill the frame. Orlando's a throwaway patsy, denies the murder flatly. It's a cover-up, a chaos merchant's cover-up. Can't stop the truth from bubbling up. This shit's a cover-up.
Nobody cared about Pac having the right amount of security at all, period.
No one cared.
It was not mentioned at all.
No one cared. You know, and every time I ask Reggie, it's really defensive.
Told you in the hospital there, that wasn't right.
Interfering with the Vegas case. He's a lieutenant in Compton, LAPD, whatever. Interfering with the Vegas case.
Because Pop, that weekend before he went, was talking about pulling away from the labels and starting their own.
What me and Biggie want to do is take control of distribution of rap music. I said, oh boy, do you know what you're going up against? Do you understand the organized criminal networks you're going up against and the two major ethnic groups that run it? He said, yeah, we do. I said, well, you and Biggie can't do no shit like this. He said, we're not alone. We are organizing other young rappers.
And let's go and try to be a distributor on our own. At that time, it was 6 majors, and he was trying to be number 7. I remember he was talking about calling it Lucky 7.
Said, if you control distribution, you can let them have their labels, you can give them anything else they want, but control distribution. From there, you control the industry.
And we don't want that, man. It's enough brothers out here dying already.
Yeah, John, y'all got a lot to cover up. Y'all motherfuckers got Pac. Do y'all know how much that hurts our hearts?
quail made you famous, your voice made you dangerous. Victim of jealousy, pour out your Hennessy. Death is calling me.
He had no business shooting at two cops. But that nigga was disloyal like that. That was just Tupac.
Stay away from Reggie Wright Jr. He is working with the feds.
In seconds, Biggie Smalls was dead, shot like Tupac in the passenger seat. According to the police, no random event, but a well-executed hit by a still unknown assailant.
What's the hateful red for? Oh, because you killed? Because you killed Biggie? Well, if I did, wouldn't it make you supposed to love me even more if you love Tupac?
You better hope I let you come home, nigga. Peace.
Anybody that ever put their hands on me, I'll tell you, might not get you that day, but you're going to get got.
The night Biggie was murdered, Eugene Deal was working security for Sean Puffy Combs and Bad Boy Records. What Gene saw that night has made him one of the only eyewitnesses that identified the actual shooter of Biggie. His personal story and what he saw has never changed in 24 years. When FBI agent Phil Carson started his own investigation as it relates to the LAPD corruption surrounding the murder, he visited Gene. Inside this interview, Phil references FBI documents that I provided him via a FOIA request that has Gene's statement from 2004. This is the first time in close to 17 years that Phil and Gene have talked.
Hey, Gene, are you there?
I'm here.
Phil, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, Big Gene, how you doing?
Phil, what's going on, boy?
Not
How
too
you doing,
much.
sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks.
That's good, man. Put the retired papers in, huh?
What's that?
So you put those retired papers in, huh?
Yeah, I finally did. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Good feeling.
You know, I think for me, Gene, and I won't speak for Phil, but what I think is great about like you guys being on the phone is I think when you look at this story and all the people that are online, all the people that I think, Gene, like you've been telling your story for years, Phil has now decided to tell his story. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that could make a case or have in the past that maybe you guys even never talked, and how this story and the truth of what, you know, happened has kind of been twisted in all of these different ways. And, you know, what I think would be great would be for you guys to talk about, you know, your interactions and when you met, and Phil, why it was important to you to talk to Gene, and for people to understand when you went out and set out to do your investigation. I can always remember you telling me, you know, I needed to go talk to Big Gene. I wanted to understand what he had been asked or shown or whatever. So maybe that's a good place to start, is, you know, the story of how you guys met and what that meant.
Yeah. So I got Big Gene's phone number. I contacted him, told him who I was, the reason I wanted to come out to New York and talk with him about the events that happened the night that Biggie got shot. Gene gave me the address. He was working the night that I showed up. at his work with another agent that flew out from LA with me. I just remember when I first saw Gene, I'm like, okay, I now understand why they call him Big Gene. You know, and trust me, I not only tried to do whatever due diligence I could on who Gene was, but I think he did a good job when he first saw me. Was, you know, he wanted to make sure, you know, I was who I said I was, and that I didn't have any ulterior motives, and, you know, that I was there really to try to get to the truth of the matter of what took place that night. The Biggie was shot. And so myself and the other agent, we sat down at his office there, and we talked, and it seemed like after, you know, a little feeling out period of on both of our parts, you know, we both understood, you know, we just want the truth to get out there. And we talked for a while and seemed to hit it off pretty good. And, you know, like I've said before, I find Gene not only 100% credible, but he was very forthcoming. He was very truthful. And I don't understand why there's these people out there that even dispute that I was the FBI agent that either first opened up this case, or I wasn't even assigned to the case when a different agent went and interviewed Big Gene. Why people come up with these crazy narratives, it's laughable. It's a joke. And like I said, I found Gene 100% credible. I corroborated a lot of the things that he said with not only other people that were there at the scene, but you know, some other things that I was able to do. And I thought that was important.
And Gene, you know, with Phil coming out over the last, I'd say, you know, 3 or 4 months and finally telling his story, what has that meant for all of the time that you spent talking on your YouTube channel, doing interviews? What was your reaction when you finally realized Phil was here and he was setting the record straight?
Well, you know, sometimes our people don't believe that an individual like myself could come out as a witness and put everything on the line based on the powers that be. When Phil came to my office, you got to realize, you know, I kept his cards. I kept every last one of the officers, even the LAPD officers, catching them. I kept their cards. So I didn't just pull Phil Carson's name out the air when I said years ago that he was an individual that came and he, you know, I wouldn't say interrogated me, but, you know, he interviewed me. We did have to get to know each other because you have to understand, the LAPD told me they were coming back after I had seen that picture of me, Puff, and the Muslim, which we know as Amir Muhammad. They told me they were coming back, and I never heard nothing else from them at all. So me coming out here and giving the people as a witness the information that I saw, the things that I saw, the things that I heard, and Phil coming to collaborate and say, yeah, me and Gene did have that conversation. Me and Gene did do that. That's coming from an FBI agent. He don't have no reason, no rhyme or reason to lie for me. He's there to get the information, to get the truth, no matter where it's lies. And for him to come out and did it, to be totally honest, when I first heard the dossier, yo, my heart dropped and I was so out, yo, I can't tell you how happy I was, man. And I said that I'm gonna help push this, and I just hope some other people get on the bandwagon so it can get the notoriety that it needs, and then maybe, just maybe, Big could get his justice.
What I find interesting, Gene, is from the very first time that you've ever spoken about the events of that night, your story has never changed. You know, I think a lot of people in your position would have done what you could, spoke what you could and then realized and sat back and said, this is insurmountable. I can't keep talking about this because nothing's being done. Why did you decide for so many years to develop a platform to talk to people, to educate people, to tell people these stories? Why did you feel that that was important?
Because when you don't tell the truth like Puffy did, he didn't tell the truth. That somewhat hurts the authenticity of what we went through. And people can't learn from a lie. You understand? So I said to myself, until he tells the truth of what happened, what was told to him prior to going to the party, I'm going to stay on his neck. Because he's wrong. Anybody else who has to go through something like that or may go through something like that, and they don't listen to their bodyguard, don't listen to the person who's doing their security and everything like that, it may just happen like that again. So I took it upon myself to take my hammer and chop at the Empire State Building. And if I got to just get a little bit at a time and one person know the truth, two people know the truth, we're going to be all right.
And Phil, what was your experience as it relates to getting information from Puffy or anyone in that regard? Did you end up interviewing him or not? What was your stance there?
Yeah, I actually had a lot of conversations with his attorneys saying, this is the reason I want to talk to him, and I might have some even information that I need to provide to Puffy to give him a little bit of more of a background of what really transpired that evening. And I got some pushback at first, and then finally we were able to set it up. And I went and talked to Puff, and he was very nice, very cordial. Didn't get much information out of him, I'll be honest with you. I could understand where he was coming from, but I didn't necessarily agree, just because from my research and the relationship that he had with Biggie, one of his best friends and all that sort of stuff, he wasn't very forthcoming with information. And I think the reason why is at that time, Puff was a mogul, but he was becoming even a bigger mogul. He had just in all the different entertainment avenues that he was involved in, as well as the clothing line and everything like that. I think he realized that no matter what he said, he wasn't going to be able to bring Biggie back. And maybe he just felt that maybe the more he talked, or if he actually told the truth or what really happened and all that sort of stuff, that all that would do is put a target on his back. Because I know after the shooting occurred, he kind of had to, hide out or hole up for a while because, he was in fear that, maybe people were going to be coming after him, that his life would be in danger. And very much so, I can understand that, because he was the intended target, is the bottom line. And when I actually told him that, that definitely got his attention.
But Phil, people don't look at this, that Puff is responsible for the safety of his artists. And if he tells the truth that, he was told that it was going to be a hit, he was told that some guys were going to kill them, and he didn't do due diligence to get enough security for his artists, then that makes him liable.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. I 100% agree with you, Gene. Absolutely.
And that, like I told people 1,000 times, if I wouldn't have never took that DEA class, that surveillance, and it was interrogation and surveillance class, and they taught us, if you somebody's, you want to know if somebody's following you, run 3 lights, take 3 right. You know what I'm saying? Either or. You know what I'm saying? And I told our driver to run the next 3 lights.
Well, Gene, you told me that. I mean, I trust me. I documented that. You told me that, and that was one of the downfalls. Was you guys ran that first light, and then I'm trying to think of who was driving Biggie's car. Was it G
Money? G.
Okay, yeah, it was great. Yeah, exactly. Right. And he didn't have any background in executive protection or security, so he sat at the light. And and that created a sitting target, a stationary target for the shooter.
And like what I was telling people and they always say this wrong in every movie, they don't understand the car was parked at the corner.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The car was parked at the corner. It was no drive-by. What he did was when Bigman stopped at the light, you know, he etched up from the parking space he had right there at the corner, took his shot, and then Kenny, our driver, when he heard the first shot, because Tone said somebody pointed a gun at Bigman. I went to open my door, as I told you, and then we heard the first shot. Bam! Then Kenny just guns the car. Then next thing you know, we hear bat, 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 bat. Then he turns the corner and he's gone. We get back in front of the car. Everybody is gone. You know what I'm saying? Big is the only one in the car. We wait till they come back. And Tone said, Gene, come on, Gene. I hopped in our car that Kenny was driving, and we go after the guy. So my whole thing about it is that you're right. He didn't have any protection. He didn't have any. G didn't have any knowledge of security, and that was whoever was responsible for Big security, which was Paul Alford and that Inglewood cop. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Let me add something that I think is important too, because there's some people out there that apparently are trying to push a different narrative. I'm looking at a copy of my interview with you, Gene, that was 17 years ago. Okay. Everything that you just described right now that took place, detail by detail, is exactly what you told me 17 years ago. And why there are people out there that say that whatever, you changed your story or this and that. I'm sick of hearing that from other people. You have been 100% honest from the beginning. You've always told the truth. Your story has never wavered. Everybody else that I talked to back then corroborated everything that you told me. And I don't understand why I do understand why these people are trying to push a false narrative, because they're just trying to stand behind their false story. But I don't understand why people would even spend 2 seconds listening or even acknowledging these false narratives why they try to say, oh, Big Gene isn't believable because he changed his story. I'm here to tell everybody you are believable. And I wish these other people that dispute that would just shut up and go away, because that's getting tired and old.
They're not going to do
Seriously.
that.
No, they're not.
That's why they call them trolls.
Yeah. I have a question that I want some clarity on from both of your different perspectives. And it has to do with a particular photograph, I guess, Gene, that was shown to you. Phil, obviously we've talked so much, but I want to understand, there was a photograph, and in this photograph, Gene, as far as I understand it, you said to the LAPD, if you unblur this person's face in this photograph, that's who the shooter is. Is that correct? Talk me through the photo from your side, Gene, and then Phil, I want to hear your perspective on it.
Sure.
All right. First and foremost, they wasn't trying to show me that photo. All right. What had actually happened is that the tape that they were recording me on clicked off. So they had it under the cover. And they had photos and stuff like that under the cover. So now they're looking at each other like two buffoons because they taping me without even letting me know that they were taping me. Right? I had my lawyer in there, Eloise Nurse. And she said, you taping my client without our permission? And then the guy, he tried to explain to Eloise that the reason they were doing it because they can't remember all the stuff that may have been said in the in the interview. So when they go and move the cover, these pictures are under the cover, right? And when he moved the cover, I see the picture is me, like on the side of facial thing is Amir Muhammad, is Diddy, we're gonna say the Muslim because I didn't know it was him at the time. The Muslim is Diddy right there in the photo, and I remember exactly what happened because Phil, you know, I thought he was trying to get me because he said, "Yo, did you have your gun on me?" And then I said, "Yes." He said, what happened? I said, I showed him my weapon, and he walked down the street in the opposite direction. You know what I'm saying? So now, the LAPD, they wasn't trying to show me a picture. Then I seen the picture. I'm like, oh, shit. That's the guy right there, because I remember Little C said a Muslim had killed Big when we was at the hospital. And I said, the blue suit, white shirt, blue bow tie, peanut-looking head. He was like, yeah, how you know, Gene? Paul Offer said that. Yo, Gene, how you know? I said he walked up to Puff's car first. You understand? So like when we're not gonna mention his name, but the A1 super cop from LA said that I was in some kind of pissing contest with him. Didn't happen like that. He was coming close to my principal. He was coming close to my client. I showed him I lowered my gun from under my shirt. He looked at it and walked back in the opposite direction. You understand? When the LAPD, you know, when I seen that picture, I said, oh shit, this the guy right here. And then they faked the guy's face. Everything was clear in the picture. I was clear. Puff was clear. Everything was clear in the picture except his face. Now, anybody who took photography 101, they know that you could take when you doing a picture, you could take a pencil and stuff like that. And if you don't want that person's face to come out, all you gotta do is go back and forth while you're doing the photo imaging. And I knew that because I had that class in college. So I knew what they had did. You understand what I'm saying? So
and Phil, did you get any indication or ever see when they were showing you the murder book or any of that stuff of this photograph that Gene is talking about?
Yes, and it does exist because myself and the other agents saw it in the murder book. And that's when we went back to my bosses because we couldn't make any copies or take any pictures or anything like that. And we explained to my bosses what happened. And then we went back again to take a look at the murder book. And the pictures were gone. And it's pretty obvious. It's like I explained, you know, it's like if you have a photo album of like, you know, pictures from the 3rd grade that your mom put together or something like that. And there's like 4 pictures on page and you keep flipping the pages. And then suddenly you see a couple blank spots where it was obvious pictures would have been, and those pictures are no longer there. And we noticed that. That's when my bosses, I wrote up a document, my bosses signed it. We sent it over to LAPD and to specifically Detective Katz saying, we not only want to see all the photos of your murder book, but specifically the photo that was shown Big Gene, where he was standing next to who we believe is Amir Muhammad outside of Puffy's car when Big Gene brandished his gun, and that Amir Muhammad, who we believe was Amir Muhammad, that his face was blurred out. And they stated that photo doesn't exist. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. We've seen it, guys. Come on. And to this day, I mean, they just denied that they had that photo. It's ridiculous.
He wasn't exactly next to me. He was about 7 feet or 8 feet.
But,
you know what I'm saying? From
right.
Me. You know what I'm saying? And he was a little bit further from Puff's car because I wasn't going to let him get that close. But when they told me they was going to come back and I never heard from them, Phil, I was scared as hell.
And here's the thing, Don, is because, again, everything that Gene is saying right now is 100% true today. It's 100% true what he told me 17 years ago, and it's 100% true what he told the LAPD because the LAPD documented that. And there's a copy of that document in the FBI files. So for them to even deny that they even showed that photo, it's beyond embarrassing. It's just ridiculous. These things are documented. And like Big Gene was just saying, for, A1 number LAPD detective to dispute this or to say that Gene had some eye fucking contest with his Muslim and that's what caused the confrontation. No, it's not. That's the shooter. This isn't rocket science, guys.
Yeah, I think the thing that and maybe both of you can give me your perspective on this, right? So just so I'm clear, Gene, and I know, listen, I'll say his name. I know we all have our opinions. Did Greg Kading come to you as a detective and did he interview you?
Not at all.
Never.
Never.
And why?
Never once came to interview you.
No, he never came to interview me.
It's crazy.
And
Absolutely
so
crazy.
how, Phil, as an investigator, you're an investigator, how does somebody be tasked to re-look into the murder, and there's an eyewitness who has existed for years, so he doesn't go and talk to the eyewitness, then he makes a documentary film where he discounts what Gene has said to date, but he never went and talked to him. And secondarily to that, he investigated a case where he never had the files of all of this other stuff because the LAPD never gave it to him. Yet he continually says these things in a public forum. I'm confused, and maybe you guys can explain this to me.
Don, it don't fit his narrative.
Exactly.
It doesn't fit his narrative. If he interviews me and put that into record, you understand, that exists. And then he has to account for that being in the record. And why didn't you account for an eyewitness that put this guy at the scene? Why did you account for the little C saying right after shooting, it was a Muslim who did it? You know what I mean? So he doesn't, the number one grade one detective, you know what I'm saying? He did what he wanted to do, and he said it when he was talking to somebody on one of the shows. After I cleared the thing for the LAPD, they had no use for me no more. They had no use for it.
Hey, I got a question too, because I have not watched, and nor do I ever have any intention to, because it's just a fictional TV series, or as far as I'm concerned. But did Greg Kading ever interview G-Money or Lil C's or anything? Any of the other guys that were right there in your entourage?
I can't answer that.
Yeah. What I don't understand, Don, is and again, I'm not in the the TV industry, but whoever the executives or the people that produce or are gonna produce some type of TV series that's based on a true event, how can you not do your due diligence? So this isn't. I'm not saying this just isn't on Greg Kading, but who are the executives who need to do their due diligence and all their checks to verify that this stuff is either true or not true, or to actually corroborate things on their own? It's kind of like when you interviewed Brad Furman, the director of City of Lies, where he said, they went out and they had to do their due diligence and corroborated things and track people down. How did that not happen for this TV series when the number one witness, Big Gene, was right there and they never talked to him? It's mind-blowing to me that they wouldn't follow up on something like that, and yet go ahead and produce a TV series or documentary and whatever. It's just not factually correct. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think sadly enough, if you look at the series of events, what basically transpired is that up until you deciding to talk, Greg Kading could get away with bad mouthing Russ Poole, and there was nobody to support Russ Poole. I think you can make the argument that Randall Sullivan supported Russ Poole, but Randall Sullivan is a journalist, right? So then what you have is this massive lag in time that ultimately we then get to when you decide to finally tell a story. They can't attack your character. I think they could attack Russ Poole's character because at some point there was a narrative of, the kind of like detective with the storage space who's gone off the deep end. They can't say that about you. You understand what I'm saying? So for the very first time in a period of 10 years, there's a narrative that you can't discredit. For Greg Kading, it's sad because he got away with and perpetrated a scam of Hollywood, a scam of whoever he did the documentary with, a scam of whoever he printed the book with. And so, unfortunately, it is what it is for us to land here today. And again, I challenge anyone to give an alternative narrative to what, we've presented here in close to 20 episodes of the dossier of evidence of other people speaking, and more importantly, you going on the record. And obviously we can go on for days about that.
I don't mean to cut you off, man, but I have to ask Phil, because if I don't ask Phil this, my friend Charlie out there in North Carolina, he's gonna be so mad at me, man. Phil,
okay.
You guys are the FBI. You guys couldn't get those all those sealed records, all those things opened up through the courts or whatever like that, all that paperwork that they had. Y'all couldn't get that.
Well, here's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no. Here's the interesting part: is when the LAPD doesn't disclose that they have all those documents, and those documents are then hidden away in some files. We don't know what we don't know, and even to this day, who's to say what else is being hidden at the bottom of a drawer? And I'm not saying there is, but from what I understand, there's a likelihood. But then once those documents finally do come out, but they are under seal, we have no access to them. We have, I hate to say it, but there's no way that we can get our hands on that. And here's the sad thing, and understand, I don't have anything against the LAPD. I have something against certain people at the LAPD. But I have a lot of friends that work there. I had a good working relationship with them. And unfortunately, there's always a couple bad apples that they kind of, ruin it for everybody. Because of the working relationship the FBI has with the LAPD, it's not like if I have to go to a company and I need to subpoena a bunch of records. We try to be, do the professional courtesy and explain to them, hey, these are the kind of documents that we believe are out there. Can you provide those to us? And understand, from the very beginning, Gene, I put out an olive branch to that robbery homicide division and Steve Katz. I cannot tell you how many times I asked them if they wanted to be part of the FBI's investigation. We wanted to look into things together, and they didn't want anything to do with it after they took off the two detectives, because they knew that they were going to have to ruin this case and obstruct it. Otherwise, it was going to be made. And so some of the things that I asked for, they would not provide, such as the photo of you and Amir outside the Peterson near Puffy's car. I mean, it's documented that photo exists. It's documented that me and another agent saw that photo. And it's documented that my bosses signed off on a letter specifically sent to certain people at LAPD, including Detective Katz, requesting that we see that photo. They respond, that photo does not exist. What do you do at that point? You got to just shake your head and just go, what the hell are we dealing with here? And it's not like we're just trying to say, hey, I gotcha, and slam the LAPD on something. It's, look, my bosses signed off and opened up this case. The FBI is doing their job. The FBI has reached out to the LAPD detectives to be part of this case, and they decide they don't want to be then. And so, if they're not going to hand over these documents, you're kind of stuck. And again, some of the documents that I believe are out there that we've never seen, I don't know if we're ever going to see them unless somebody else decides to open up the case.
And I think, Gene, just to add to Phil, what you have to understand, and is very important, and we're trying to get Perry Sanders to come and talk to us about questions like you just asked. even for example, with the civil trial, at a certain point, what the LAPD really did is they went to the federal judge and they said to the federal judge, hey, we have new information and this is now an active murder investigation. Now, under that premise, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, the minute they tell the federal judge this is still an active murder investigation, that then allows them to control what Perry Sanders could see, what the Wallace family could see, what could be brought into court, and what could be buried in what Randall Sullivan likes to refer as to like a safety deposit box somewhere in downtown Los Angeles.
Correct. And the unfortunate, I guess it's both fortunate and unfortunate, is the fortunate thing is there is no statute of limitations on a murder. The unfortunate thing is because of that, the LAPD can say, hey, this is an ongoing investigation. We should not have to hand over this particular evidence or these particular leads because we're still investigating it. And if we do turn this stuff over, it's going to impede or hamper our investigation. And the judge bought off on that. So basically, they have an endless amount of time to hold on to these documents or to hide these documents from ever coming to light, which means, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, does that mean this is still going to be an open, ongoing murder investigation? Well, I guess so. If they're going to continue to hide those documents, that's the ridiculous thing about it.
Hey, Gene, what, after all this time, still surprises you about this story enough for you to still want to talk about it, for people's interest in it?
Well, the fact that there were eyewitnesses there. You know, Lucy saw the shooter. I put the shooter there at that position. I put the shooter there. Lucy, see the guy who's taking the shots and everything. So for people to come up with this Poochie narrative and all this other bull crap, and they still believe that when eyewitnesses, because when you're doing an investigation, the most important statement that is made is the statement that they make that night. It's the statement that they make right there at the scene. You know, and you have to go with that statement that is made. You know, when we're doing investigation. So when Lil C said it's a Muslim, and then I say blue suit, what you call like that, you run with that. So what happens is that, you know, how people, it used to be a story that I used to hear, people are ready to hear the bullshit more so than they do the truth. So, you know, how people are just coming on here and they running with the bullshit instead of listening to the truth. And it's good that Phil, who is a decorated FBI agent, you know what I'm saying? You know, he didn't have to come out. He could have kept quiet. You understand? But because he wasn't allowed to do his job just like Russell Poole, you understand? And he has the paperwork. He has the documentation. He has everything to put on the table to show you this is what we tried to do to find Big's killer. And I wasn't allowed to do that. So what keeps me on and keeps me going is that one day that something is going to hit, somebody's going to say something, and they're going to say, yo, listen to me. And it's going to, I think that Phil cleared me out there, but I want those people who was there to come out and say, yo, Gene was right. Gene told us at Andre Harrell house that guys was coming to kill us. You understand? Lucy just said something lightly like that, but you know, his words don't hold no weight. But a couple of people are going to come out and they're going to tell the truth, and I'll wait on that.
And Phil, I do have a question for you that I don't think I've ever asked you. And what would be preventing the LAPD to charge, if the evidence was there, the alleged shooter in Amir Muhammad and not, I guess, include the Mac or the Perez or how it all came about? What would the fear be if that was to happen? Then Amir ultimately goes on the record of how it all was put together. What would prevent them from just making an arrest?
Well, the one thing is there is, and this is everybody that's ever looked at this case has always said the same thing. There is no way in hell one person pulled this off, period. And without question, that's correct. In fact, there were two, I mean, Gene even told me there were two cars set up. So depending on which way the caravan that had Puff and Iggy in it, whichever way they turned, there was going to be a car that was going to be there that had a shooter that was going to be able to take out, you know, whether it be Puff or whether it be Biggie. So right there, it tells you there was more than one shooter. But there is no way one person is going to be able to lie wait in a car and not have other people involved to make sure that police officers don't, I mean, understand too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, after Big was shot and you guys take off and try to follow the shooter, you know, going over 100 miles an hour on the freeways, lose them, and then you come back, there's still no police officers there yet. And you guys decide, oh, you know what, let's take them to Cedars-Sinai. I know you guys knew how to get there. Where are the police officers? And I'm not pointing the finger at LAPD here. I'm pointing the finger at anybody who was handling the security for the actual museum. There had to be police officers there. There's no way in hell you are going to have that level of celebrities, both athletes that were there, entertainers that were there. I mean, there were so many celebrities there that they're not only going to have their personal security, which is a lot of times off-duty officers, but you're also going to have security there that's supplied for the Peterson, as well as when you have a big event like that in a big city like whatever, Los Angeles, New York, wherever, you are going to have a ton of police officers, both uniformed to deter people from doing anything, as well as, say, in suits to where they can almost like, you know, fit in with the crowd, be undercover, or, you know, be like the personal bodyguard for somebody, kind of like what Big Gene was. But to have no police officers show up there goes to tell you there had to be a concerted effort by more than just the shooter to try to orchestrate this. And that's where people need to understand how the Rampart case worked, how the Paul Merrill's case worked, how the David Mack bank robbery worked. There were multiple people, multiple officers, radios were used, tactics were used, cars were used to be able to orchestrate those crimes, just like it was orchestrated to create the shooting of Biggie. And one person could not do it. So even though if you were to arrest the shooter, if you want to say Amir Muhammad, there's still so many other people. And if you're going to go ahead and arrest one person, that person's going to start talking. They're not going to take the fall for everyone. Guaranteed.
And Gene, that night when it all happened, obviously the adrenaline and you're doing what you're doing. When you think back on it now, was it odd to you that at that event or when this transpired that there was just absolutely no police? That, as you said, they stopped the car, they got out, they were standing there, they were yelling, that no officers responded at all?
When we got back to the scene, see, you know, when you watch the television or LA, even in LA, you always see that when there's a shooting, there's a situation, the helicopters will be in the air. You know what I'm saying? There were no helicopters in the air. There were no police on our side of the venue. What I heard is that somebody had did a shooting on the other side of the venue. You understand? And there were ambulance and there were police all over there. Nobody ever came back to that side. We didn't do 100 because we had that government ship Caulfield, and every time we tried to get up to 100, it would go all the way back down to 90.
Gotcha.
we was never going to catch it. And then when we got back, police still wasn't there. I walked down to the in the middle of the Peterson, and that's when I heard DJ Quick. He said, yo, he was on the cell phone. Yo, I think they got one of them bad boy niggas. They said they was going to get him. And then I'm walking towards him, and Paul runs down. Said, yo, Gene, come on. We leaving. We taking Big to the hospital. And he's grabbing at me. And I said, okay. So we go back up to I go back up to the car. And Kenny said, they asked Kenny, you know where the hospital is? He said, yeah. We didn't know it was a hospital we didn't know it was a hospital like 2 blocks away. And then when Lil C said that Kenny was dodging through, traffic and everything like that now, and was flying and stuff like that, he was trying to go as fast as he could, but our driver was cursing and said, I wish I knew where the hospital was, because Kenny was going too slow. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even know where the hospital was at, and it seemed like Kenny didn't know where the hospital was at.
In closing here, Gene, is there any questions, and you can ask as many as you want, of Phil, of his sort of investigation, or things that you've been wondering that you haven't had answers for, that maybe he can bring some clarity to? And Phil, I pose that to you too. Do you have any questions for Gene as it relates to anything we didn't talk about?
Well, I would like to ask Phil that, is it true that, because this has been said, that because of Big's status and what it would cripple the city, him being a gangster rapper and everything like that, that there were forces that wouldn't allow them to get to the truth that was played?
What I can say to that is, and I stated it, earlier on, is I was contacted by one of the attorneys for the city of Los Angeles. And they told me, it was at the end of a day, and they said, hey, we need to talk with you because you've been put on a witness list by Perry Sanders, and we cannot have you testify. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know about any witness list or anything like that. And they said, well, yeah, prior to the trial starting, one of the requirements is all the attorneys, they have to, both on the plaintiff and defendant side, they have to provide a witness list. And Perry Sanders provided you as one of the witnesses they plan on calling, and we cannot have you testify. And I'm like, this is the first I've heard of it. They go, well, we need to talk to your bosses. And I said, okay, when do you want to meet? They go, we'll be at your office tomorrow morning. Well, so first of all, they don't usually come to the FBI office, and to do it that quickly, it was obviously a big deal. So I go ahead and I set up a meeting. I had all my bosses there, and that's where, and it's documented, like I stated before, point blank, they say, if Agent Carson were to testify, we stand a 50-50 chance of losing a $500 million or $600 million civil lawsuit, and we can't afford to have that happen. And the FBI said, okay. And the FBI didn't make any determination at that point, but the case never went to trial. So it kind of got left at that. But just the fact that the city attorney's office was trying to squash me testifying, and some of the other things that the city attorney's office tried to do to discredit me by making up these false narratives and false ruses that ended up getting the lead city attorney on this case fired and taken off the case because he was going to get sued by me and the FBI. He gets yanked off because he even admitted under oath that the reason they did some of the things that they did was to try to, where they could discredit me if I were to be on the witness stand, saying that, he didn't follow through on certain investigative leads because we tried to get him to do certain things, and they were going to try to use that to discredit me. They even admitted under oath that they made up those false lies, and it cost the lead city attorney his job on the case. So, it's they had a lot at stake. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This would have, and again, Gene, this is coming after the whole consent decree from the Rampart situation. I mean, that case, what did it cost them? Like $100 million that they ended up paying out and paying off all the people that got prosecuted that involved Rafael Perez's testimony. Once he was a disgraced officer, they pretty much had to let all those people go, let them walk free, and then they also had to pay off a bunch of civil suits because of that. So if that is going to cost them $100 million, their number this was going to cost them $500 to $600 million. That's not my number. That's what they told us.
Well, Phil, I want to personally thank you, man, and I appreciate what you've done, man. You made my life so much easier as far as coming out and letting people know that I stood as a man, and I fought this battle, and I was fighting this battle by myself. I was letting everybody know, no matter what and no matter who, what I saw and what I witnessed that night. And I truly appreciate you coming out, man, and letting the public know that I was a man of my word and I was true to my word.
No problem. I mean, you know what? Sometimes the truth hurts people, but you know what's been told in this story, you know, by you and by me, it's the truth. It just is what it is. It's going to be. It was true 20 years ago. It's true today, and it's going to be true 20 years from now as well. So, you know what? It is what it is.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys. This was amazing to have you both on the
I feel like when I say make the better argument, I feel like we do better as you, me, as an organization, if we're explaining to people to a point where we don't have to actually explain, you know, when they see what's happening because they're educated on the principles involved. Why is this guy up here? You know, that's why. So that,
well, I think in both the Tupac murder.
Are we speeding?
Yes,
we
are. We're speeding. I think in both in the Tupac murder and the Biggie murder, there's people that are out there that know firsthand such little information, but then there's so much crap out there, and it never stops. There's always somebody that's got an opinion on those two murders. That there's so much information out there that is disinformation, but people formulate their opinion or embellish what little maybe firsthand knowledge they have of, you know, they went to one death row function, and next thing you know, they're an expert on how security was run and who was doing security and all that sort of stuff. When it's like, no, you were at one death row function, that's it. But they embellish what they have because everybody's after a money grab. I mean, let's face it. You throw the name Tupac or Biggie out there, and everybody's got something to say about it. Everybody's got something to sell paraphernalia about it. Everybody out there is to make a buck. And even if it's a complete false narrative and a complete lie, it just never ends. And there's certain people out there that are so entrenched in trying to make money and have made money on these lies and false narratives that they've been pushing that it's almost like they can't stop. I mean, you're so deep into it now, you've got to keep it going. And there's people like Reggie that, you know, at one moment he will say he knows everything. And that's why he can speak as an expert on this and try to shoot everybody down. And then the next thing he'll say, he's got all this deniability that none of this stuff happened. And he wasn't aware of any of the security that was going on. And it's like, he's just a complete liar. He's completely non-credible at this point. Now, I mean, I can tell you for a fact, when we follow up on a lead or somebody provides the FBI with some information and it's not firsthand information, you know, and it's hearsay, you don't just accept it. You have to corroborate. you have a duty to do the due diligence. And it kind of goes back to some of these police corruption cases that we have, or even if we are going after, say, an allegation against a corrupt senator or governor or House of Representative, we do not make those things public, because if we cannot corroborate that these allegations are true, we're ruining somebody's career. Not cool. We have to keep it on the down low, and we do. And it's only when there is something that's credible and we're able to put our investigation together, then they'll come out when you find out somebody's indicted for some corruption, and everybody's like, oh wow, where did this come from? It's because if those aren't true allegations, we don't want to ruin those people's career. And that was one of the things we ran into when we were doing the Rampart case regarding the whole Rafael Perez thing. Not to tangent over there, but it's like, hold it, this guy's making all these allegations against these police officers. We owe those officers, because LAPD went public with that before we even got a chance to look at it. So we're telling our bosses, we owe it to these police officers to either prove what Perez is stating is true, or we need to clear these officers so they can get on with their careers and clear up their name. And that's why it became such a cluster, because we were really hand-tied on how we were able to look into that. But these people that, they say that they have all this firsthand knowledge of things, but they don't. They just embellish what little bit that they know, or what they've read, or what they've heard from other people, and then they incorporate that into their story. So now they're able to give this perception like they're some expert on it or something.
Keefe, follow me.